Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko When They Cry episode 5. Oh, thank you so much for the bits. This is episode 5, End of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining us here on stream. Hey CB, thank you so much for the bits, thank you so much for the raid as well. Please go check out CB when you have a chance. Thank you so much for starting us off really good today. So, this is our second stream for Umineko The Answers arc. So, things are already a little bit different than they were in the questions arc. We saw the scene of Natsui and Kraus conspiring to hide the death of Kinzo. We also got a mysterious phone call, or Natsui got a mysterious phone call from someone claiming to be her son. And we're introduced to a new character here named Erica, who is Burn Castell's game piece, and basically her self-insert slash Mary Sue. So the game board this time is being run by Lambda Delta. Beatrice is in a coma, but the game piece Beatrice still exists. So Badler is being caught up on what happened because this part of the game happened before he was involved with the meta world. So they just met Erica. Basically, Erica was a girl who fell off of a nearby cruise liner or pleasure boat near Rokujima and washed up on Rokujima during the beginning of the family conference, and they finally just got her in and she just finished meeting everyone. So literally we just got introduced to her. So let's get going and see how a new character shakes up the foundation of the Rokujima mass murders. Erica's seat was the lowest one in rank. In other words, it was at the inferior end of the table. Since Kinzo's seat at the high end of the table was empty, if you spun the whole thing around, it sort of looked like Erica was the host of this dinner. Hey Armand, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Well then, everyone. I would like to begin tonight's dinner, if I may. After Goda's announcement, dinner began with the applause that had almost become customary. It was finally the beginning of the dinner orchestra conducted by Toshiro Goda. Except for Kraus's household, sitting at such a majestic dinner table was no everyday thing for these people by any means. However, they were all used to this event and acted as though it was completely normal. Once again, if anyone was to be surprised, it should have been Erica. And yet, she showed no signs of amazement at this dinner and acted with composure, blending in with everyone else. There wasn't even a sliver of fear one might expect on the face of someone who had wandered here like a lost puppy. What an odd child. She doesn't seem the least bit flustered by the Ushimiya family's grandest dinner of the year. Kids these days have nerves of steel. Definitely not something I dislike. Is Furuto-san used to meals such as this one? She seems to be quite composed. No kidding. She looks really experienced. Heck, I still get confused about which fork I'm supposed to use next. Huh, was it this one? Or this one? Ahahaha. Without showing any confusion over the line of utensils in front of her, Erica gracefully ate her hors d'oeuvres. Hideyoshi had started joking around with her, gripping a fork in each hand. Of course, the president of a company in the food service industry like Hideyoshi obviously knew his table manners. However, thinking that Erica must be nervous over this dinner, he had intentionally spoken with a comic tone of voice. You just have to start on the outside and work your way in. If that's a pain, then just ask for some chopsticks. If you're Japanese, you've got to love chopsticks. Chopsticks are so great. Just one pair of those, you could deal with any kind of food. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Erica, I totally forgot about this too. Erica's a little bit of a weeb, or like yeah, she's basically a weeb. Again, I think it plays into the trope of her being Burn Castell's Mary Sue insert, so they intentionally gave her this sort of Japanophile sort of personality trait. Although I forgot about this. It's not really a major trait, but she does bring it up every once in a while. Hey Ash, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you. As soon as she began talking about chopsticks, her eyes started glittering. The smile she now showed for the first time was far different from the dignity she displayed before. More like something you'd expect from someone her age. But even you would use a spoon for curry and rice, wouldn't you? Just make it a donburi bowl. Is there anyone who eats beef bowls with a spoon? Of course not. For the Japanese, it's absolutely Positively, totally chopsticks. So, Goda-san, would you mind bringing me some chopsticks? I want to show everyone how a true Japanese person should eat without any shame. By the way, what are we eating next? Unfortunately, that would be soup. As she imitated a shrugging gesture, Erika winked at everyone. Ah ha 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 ha! Of course, no one was laughing at her. She obviously knew the soup came after hors d'oeuvres in a full-course meal. Furthermore, Erika had noticed both that she'd been performing too perfectly and creating a sense of tension, and that Hideyoshi had tried to break the ice because he thought she was nervous. That's why she started acting like a little childish and lighthearted, acting out the part of a guest enjoying a harmonious dinner. Pretty soon, not only Kirie, but everyone else caught on. Though she was an uninvited guest, she was apparently worthy of participating in an Ushimiya family dinner. Smart kid. Did she really just come here by coincidence? Don't tell me you secretly called your illegitimate child to today's family conference, Nissan. It seems she even has the smarts to brighten the mood. And her manners are simply wonderful. It wouldn't be bad at all to have this girl as a daughter. That's pretty cruel. Where does that leave Jessica-chan? That's mean, Rudolph-Nissan. What's wrong, Jessica-chan? Headache? I get the feeling my reputation's taking a dive. Well, if you're a daughter of the head family, you better not let her beat you. Try using those table manners and dignity Aunt Natsui's always training you with, and fight back. I wanna see table manners. Hey, jumping around is bad manners. Come on, Jessica-chan. Show us how it's done. Sure, of course. Jessica straightened up so much it looked like someone had poked her back with a pole. She had good posture, but it somehow lacked elegance. She looked, well, kind of like a triangle ruler. She sat at attention with her gaze fixed straight ahead, trying to bring her food to her mouth despite this, and failed miserably. Dad, who was sitting next to her, suddenly realized that something was up. What's wrong, Jessica-chan? Stomachache? Jessica turned bright red. Sorry, I can't help myself. We laughed our heads off. Jessica protested, still bright red. Aunt Natsui scolded us for being too improper. Well, no matter how much we try to smooth it over, we are who we are. We couldn't pretend any longer. Still, that laugh really did help us to relax. We were so concerned about the guests getting nervous, we got even more nervous ourselves. Our chatter from the center of this long table spread to both ends, and ultimately, the dinner went even more smoothly than usual. With some delicious cheese and coffee, our peaceful meal came to an end. Goda won unanimous acclaim and was praised for his skill by all present. After a short period of harmony following the meal, it was decided that we would return to the guest house. Normally, dinner tended to have a very dark atmosphere about it, and the adults would often keep the mood as they moved straight on to the family conference. However, perhaps because this year's dinner had been oddly peaceful, everyone decided to take a break, the adults included. After eating, taking a bath, and relaxing while watching TV, I wonder if they'll gather again in the mansion with all this rain and resume that high-tension family conference of theirs. I'd rather not think about it. Apparently Aunt Ava was getting really worked up, trying to convince the rest to start the family conference right away, but it didn't look like many people agreed with her. They would probably call it quits for the night. Since they had guest house duty, Goda-san and Kumasawa-san were chosen to guide us to the guest house. It's gotta be tough for Goda-san. Even after making and cleaning up such an extravagant dinner, he also has the late night shift at the guest house. I heard that Kumasawa-san, old as she was, would be going to sleep soon. It seems she was assigned to a spare room. Allow me to guide everyone to the guest house. Erika-sama, a room has also been prepared for you. Thank you very much. Why not rest a bit? Are you sure you feel okay? That's right. I totally forgotten, but you nearly drowned and floated here, didn't you, Erika-chan? You'd probably be better off taking it easy and going to bed early tonight. I'm perfectly fine. On the contrary, I'm so nervous and excited, I doubt I could get any sleep. Then let's play. Let's all play together. Let's play cards. Maria latched onto her, giggling. This lack of restraint peculiar to youth was very much like Maria. However, we really should be concerned for Erika's physical condition now. Maria, why don't you play cards with us? Erika One-chan is tired. I like cards too. Please let me join you after I had a short break. Alright. Who is that? As she passed through the lobby of the entrance hall, Erika stopped walking. When we saw what she was looking at, the rest of us also stopped. Oh, that is the Golden Witch Beatrice-sama. The Golden Witch. What are you doing, brats? Go on and head back to the guest house. Dad, Kiryu-san, Aunt Ava, Uncle Hideyoshi, and Aunt Rosa all came over. The entire guest house party had gathered. However, Erika's gaze was captured by the portrait of the witch, and she simply stared at it for a while. Yeah. Supposedly Dad has a stash of hidden gold worth 20 billion yen, and this epitaph shows you where that gold's hidden. Perhaps it was too early for them all to disperse into their individual rooms, because the relatives who had returned to the guest house all gathered on the first floor, continuing their chat. The topic was the witch's epitaph, which Erika had taken an interest in. It really is a fascinating riddle. You stuck it out in a place where anyone could see it, challenging our intelligence. I love that kind of challenge. Whoa. You seem surprisingly interested, Erika-chan. Do you like solving riddles or something? Don't challenges like this seem interesting? It seems pretty clear that Kinzo-san wants to use that epitaph to choose his successor. When she said that, the adult stopped moving, and slowly turned to face Erika. Why do you think that? Aunt Ava spoke with a coaxing voice, though every now and then there had been whisperings among the relatives that whoever solved the epitaph's riddle might be given the family inheritance. This had been no more than wishful thinking, since such a thing had never been specifically stated. And yet, though she had only read it once, this outsider had already reached that conclusion. Hey Sai, welcome to the stream, thanks for dropping by. I'm doing well, thank you. Having a nice relaxing day. Hope you're having a good day too. Thank you so much for joining us today. How had she come to it? No, that's not the problem. If you solve the epitaph, you can become the next head. She wasn't trying to make it sound like wishful thinking, but an outright fact. So they closed in around Erika, asking why she was so sure. It's fairly common for an extremely rich person to relinquish his or her wealth to the solver of some sort of riddle. Furthermore, Kinzo-san didn't publish this epitaph in a newspaper, but displayed it in his mansion. That means the riddle is directed at the people in this mansion. Right. Since it's inside the mansion, there's no way for someone who can't enter the mansion to solve it. So that means Grandfather's been challenging the people here. Good. Well thought. Just by the simple fact the epitaph's inside the mansion, it's possible to figure out that much. So another trait of Erika's is that in the Japanese version, because obviously this game's in Japanese, when you see these words that have like the triangle brackets, it means she says that word in English. She will sprinkle her words often or her sentences with English words once in a while, because again, it kind of goes back to her being like a Mary Sue weeb kind of character. She also likes to use this kind of phrasing of her sentences, like just by the simple fact something something, like it's obvious that something something, like just to show how smart she is. Again, we'll see more of Erika's personality traits as we go, but I just kind of want to point out these speaking mannerisms of hers because they don't really carry across in the translation. At first, this frugal Erika girl seemed to be the fairly silent type, but that apparently wasn't the case. As she grew excited by a challenge to a game of wits, she became much more talkative than I imagined. I see. Well, it does make sense that an epitaph inside a mansion would be there so the people in that mansion could read it. But can you really be so sure that the one who solves it will be given the headship too. If the treasure gained by solving the riddle was something small, I wouldn't even have considered that. That's right. The hidden gold is worth 20 billion. You might consider that gold itself to be the wealth of the Ushimiya family. Inheriting something like that would be almost the same as inheriting the Ushimiya family itself. In other words, this riddle of the gold's hiding place, buried within the epitaph, is nothing less than a way of selecting the de facto successor of the Ushimiya family. The idea that the one who solved the epitaph would be chosen as the successor had been passed around by some of the relatives for a while now. However, since it had never been specifically announced, it was nothing more than an optimistic dream. Thinking this, they decided to abandon all consideration of this point until the details were made clear. Erika had clearly declared that this uncertain point was, in fact, true. If one of the relatives had said it, people would have thought it to be merely an optimistic dream. However, when this was declared by a complete outsider, those words seemed even more credible. Everyone remained silent for a while, slowly considering what those words implied. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for the Furudo Erika. What do you think, everyone? She says this line a lot too, like this level of reasoning is possible for Furudo Erika. Sorry to butt in, but my dad's successor. Finding the gold would be one thing, but that doesn't mean you get to be the head, right? Jessica thought the treasure hunting part of the epitaph was really fun. However, she couldn't help but let her expression grow bitter once they started talking about the undermining her father's position. By using deductive reasoning based upon my theory, it seems likely that Kinzo-san doesn't want the successor, Kraus-san, to inherit that position so smoothly. Why's that? Becoming the head of the Ushimiya family, with all the vast wealth it entails, would mean gaining a great deal of influence in a political sense. So under normal circumstances, the succession should be overseen rigorously without letting any element of chance creep into the equation. That's right, it happens a lot in those stories about Sengoku military commanders that my husband loves. When there are multiple candidates for successor, it usually results in an internal squabble. That's right. That's why it's important to clearly specify successors so you can avoid any trouble. Sometimes there's even a purge of all the competing successors. The Sengoku commander Hideyoshi admired, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, made his son-in-law Hidetsugu commit seppuku, but it was rumored that he might have done this to make Hideyori, who was his real son, and born after Hidetsugu, his true heir. In other words, naming a successor was a way to make it generally known that a single unique person would be acknowledged by everyone, and a way to remove any chance of another person becoming an opposing candidate. Hey Hakaze, welcome to the stream, thank you so much for joining us today. Good, that's exactly right. The only purpose for an epitaph like that would be to cast doubt on Kraus-san's position as a successor. In other words, if Kinzo-san wanted Kraus-san to become the head smoothly, he'd have no reason to go out of his way and display something so dangerous for all to see. That's right. If you spin the chessboard around, you certainly could say that. It would be odd if you handed over the position of the head normally, but only handed over the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solves the riddle. Kinzo would pass on the title of family head, but he would only give up the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solved the epitaph. You really couldn't call this passing on the headship in the truest sense. That's how it is. By this theory, we are able to doubt whether Kinzo-san truly acknowledged Kraus-san as a successor. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furudo Erika. What do you think, Jessica-san? What the hell? How do you call that reasoning? That's bullshit, it's all screwed up. Jessica let her emotions lay bare and glared at Erika. Erika, on the other hand, looked exceedingly calm with an expression that said, well, that's just the truth, right? I see. It looks like table manners aren't the only way this girl is fitting for the Ushimiya family. It seems she really does match the family, even when it'd be better if she didn't. Okay, take it easy, Jessica. And Erika, let's leave it at that for now. Well, we can put all the successor stuff to the side for now. Anyway, there's no doubt it's fault this big question for us. It's 20 billion yen. Maria-chan, what'd you use for it if you found it? The Golden Land isn't just gold, it's a sacred place. Uncle Hideyoshi kept trying to force himself to chuckle and improve the mood. Everyone else tried to play along, but Jessica's mood didn't get any better. So, Erika-chan, would you like to have a go at the epitaph's riddle? Yes. My little gray cells are itching to get started. I'd like to start solving as soon as possible. This line, she makes a lot of obviously Erika is supposed to be the detective, as they declared, so she says a lot of references to detective novels. Her little gray cells line is a reference to Sherlock Holmes. Georgianiki smoothly turned the conversation around. Just like the time she'd made everyone laugh in the dining hall, Erika looked about with gleeful eyes and jumped at the chance. I like it. Well, since Erika seems so interested, let's all try and solve it together, just like last year. I'll make some coffee. Raise your hand if you want some. Not for you, Maria. You won't be able to sleep. I want to drink black coffee. Don't they get you excited? Riddles like this? I love them. Erika said that and smiled. Though she must have known that she'd ticked Jessica off and made the atmosphere sour, she just smiled nonchalantly. See? Without even waiting for the crime on October 5th, there's a riddle you can solve. I've tried to solve it many times myself, but you didn't have a clue, so you gave up and stopped thinking. Right. It pissed me off, but I don't have a good counter for that. After all, I don't get the epitaph at all. I don't even know what the beloved hometown means, much less the parts about the Sweetfish River and the key. Thinking that a few more hints would show up if I waited, I kept on waiting and just stopped thinking. So we saw the riddle of the epitaph getting solved in episode 3 by Ava and Rosa, but we never actually got to see the actual solution. They just gave us a lot of clues about what all the symbolism meant, but Ava ended up finding the location on her own without telling us. So the exact details of the solution for the riddle are still unknown to us viewers, although I think it's kind of implied that we wouldn't really be able to get it anyways because it's kind of specific to Kinzo and his family. Have you figured out an answer of your own? Because I'm about to solve it. What? This is where Burns solved the riddle of the epitaph. I'd expect no less from the Witch of Miracles. If a riddle is solvable, she can solve it without fail, regardless of the difficulty. How many years did it take to solve this one? That's rude. I only fished through a few hundred fragments. You really are terrifying. You aren't gonna cheat by suddenly saying the answer in red or something like that, right? Don't worry. Just like you, I follow the rules as a player. Well, shall we begin? It's cramped here. Why don't we talk over the sea? Okay. Don't get queasy, Battler. What do you mean, the sea? Huh? I thought the whole world had turned pitch black, and the next moment, I was struck by a strange floating sensation. This must be what it feels like to suddenly have the floor drop from under you, setting you into a bottomless pit. When I looked, I saw the two witches and I had been thrown into a pitch-black universe. In this space, every direction was covered in an endless darkness, and it felt like a limitless expanse filled with countless glittering objects. Some people might have likened it to the depths of an ocean, where innumerable sparkling fragments drifted. Whoa! Didn't she tell you not to get queasy? If you want the concept of gravity, just create it yourself, okay? Come on, calm down and look at us. Come on, don't we look like we're just fine? Believe that your feet are on the ground, and that you're being controlled by gravity. If you do that, you'll find your equilibrium. Yes, the two witches are standing normally, as if their feet were planted on transparent pieces of glass. I'm the only one floating about like someone in a rapidly plummeting elevator. When I saw they were doing just fine, I started calming down, figuring there was no need to be scared. Then, just as Lambda Delta said, I gritted my teeth and kept telling myself there was a place to stand here, and that I had to stay calm. Whoa. Very good, very good. What's your name? Ushimiya Battler. Who else do I look like? Okay, you mustn't lose your will, emotions, or form. After all, this is the ocean. If you lose your purpose, you'll fall into the depths of eternity and become a scrap of ocean seaweed. Be careful. I don't get what Lambda Delta's saying, but I should calm down for the time being. It seems that I regain my equilibrium the more I calm down. Gradually, that weird floating feeling, like I was falling forever, began to disappear. It still felt strange, like trying to stand up straight at the bottom of a deep pool, but it was much better than before. Then let's begin. I'll weave together some fragments for solving the riddle of the epitaph. Bernkastel opened both her hands. Then, like a planetarium, all the fragments throughout this empty space began to spin, leaving tails behind them. The expression planetarium might have been surprisingly fitting. Multiple fragments were tied together by gold lines, and what looked like constellations zoomed by us rapidly, one after another. It felt almost as though we were dashing through space at an incredible speed. Then, with tails of light drifting behind them, several brightly glowing fragments swirled around Bernkastel. It looked almost like she created her own solar system with her as the sun. That solar system surrounding Bernkastel grew to a radius large enough to swallow us up. And every once in a while, one of those satellite fragments zoomed right past me. When those fragments passed by me, it felt as though some kind of memory welled up inside me. So I sensed it. These fragments are probably like a crystallization of memories. They aren't memories. They're fragments of worlds. Well, I guess they might feel like memories to you. Then let's begin. Let's start with this fragment. One of the satellites in the solar system was slowly sucked into an inward trajectory with Bernkastel the center. After drawing a spiral and approaching her, it settled down on the palm of Bernkastel's outstretched hand. Then it glittered brightly, painting over the world with pure white. The beloved hometown definitely won't betray our expectations. The only past father held dear happened during his childhood years. I remember that. This is from the third game, where Aunt Ava was just about to solve the riddle of the epitaph, and was thinking it over with this witch inside of her, or whatever. That's right. And from these thoughts, she made her way to the correct answer. In other words, this fragment shows a vital hint for reaching the truth. It means that this theory is not mistaken. So you're saying we should assume this beloved hometown isn't a metaphor or anything like that, but the place grandfather actually spent his youth. That's right. And at the very least, it isn't Odawara. Odawara is definitely where he was born, but I don't think that's the hometown he loved. I imagine all of his siblings have the same place in mind. Right. This probably isn't Odawara. From what I've heard, he had a very fun time as a youth. That's right. Aunt Ava and her siblings said it wasn't Odawara. And not only that, it looked like everyone guessed where grandfather's hometown was. Right. And annoyingly, the actual location isn't spoken of in any of the fragments. Well, duh. If I told you that, there'd be too many hints. If it wasn't a hard riddle, there'd be no point to it. Uh-oh, that's a hint too. Just where is this hometown of grandfather's? We can't even start if we don't know that. You mean you couldn't start, so you stopped thinking? Since it had to be a place where you could have lived, the number of possibilities is limited. Well, this is the toughest part. You were the witch who could certainly solve any riddle that could be solved, weren't you? So you took those limited possibilities, in other words, everywhere on the earth, and considered every single piece of land that grandfather might have lived on. That would work too, but that way, no amount of time would be enough. So I need to take more hints into consideration to wring out the answer. Didn't you say it yourself? You said it didn't have to be a river with water flowing down it. If the word sweetfish is too complicated, why not forget it? Think of a river. A river. Linking it with a family tree wasn't a bad idea. Try thinking about how to link a river with something else along those lines. A sweetfish river running through the hometown. However, this river isn't truly a river. Ava thought of something else, something that could be linked with a river. Sure, but if it isn't a river, then why the sweetfish? Think. A river that runs through the hometown, but it isn't a river with water running down it. Something that can be likened to a river. Behold the Sweetfish River running through the beloved hometown. Ava knew where that hometown was, so she could forget about the Sweetfish hint. However, since we don't know where it is, this could be a hint for us. I worried too much about the Sweetfish River. The Sweetfish part really didn't matter that much at all, did it? That isn't true. It was an excellent hint, wasn't it? Well, of course, maybe there was no need for it to be Sweetfish. What are these Sweetfish? If the river isn't a literal river, then of course Sweetfish probably doesn't mean the kind of fish that swims. Yeah, and on top of that, Rosa tossed it aside, saying that the Sweetfish weren't that significant. On the other hand, Ava said it wasn't important for them to be Sweetfish, but that it was still an excellent hint. In other words, that Sweetfish is a key to make you think of something else. If that something is a different word, but a word that Sweetfish makes you think of, then Ava's line about how it probably didn't have to be Sweetfish makes sense. From these thoughts, Aunt Ava formed some kind of theory. Went to the library, looked through some books, and verified that she was right. In short, Aunt Ava formed some theory about the true nature of this Sweetfish River running through a hometown. Then she opened a certain book to determine whether that theory was correct or not. In other words, this theory was something that could be verified through some kind of book. Also, after she figured out what the Sweetfish River was, she figured out the rest of the riddle very quickly. Good thinking. The epitaph continues on, saying, as you travel down the river, you will see a village. At that point in time, Ava hadn't yet solved the 3 lines starting with this one. What is this village? What does it mean? Do you find one if you go down the river? Ah! Right before my eyes, the pieces I hadn't been able to understand at all began to snap. Snap. Into place all by themselves. Hey Starog, welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for stopping by, I hope you're having a great day. Good to see you, happy to have you here. I couldn't even remember to close my open mouth. My throat grew completely dry. Is it really okay for this to be the answer? Really? Really? So, if we figure out what the Sweetfish River running through the hometown is, that leads us directly to understanding the as you travel down the river, you will see a village stuff, and then we get the key to the Golden Land. Correct. And we know that because even Ava didn't know what the village meant until she checked the book. Damn it! Just what is this book? But this isn't 6 characters at all. I'm absolutely sure this is the answer, but doesn't reach 6 characters at all. Did you stop thinking again? In that case, think of a way you could read it with 6 characters. If you can't think of one, then research it. There has to be an answer. You must not doubt that. Oh, is believing in that too much for you? If only you just cry yourself to sleep, and then you can just give up and die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh! 6 characters! I found it! This is the key to the Golden Land. Then, Ava found the key to the Golden Land. Yeah, and this key was some kind of word, number, or string of characters, 6 characters long. That's it. If we know the key's true identity as 6 characters, the meaning of the first Twilight changes drastically. On the first Twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. The 6 chosen by the key. 6 characters! In other words, it means to sacrifice 6 characters chosen by the key on the first Twilight. This key indicates a certain group of 6 people. No, we should say it indicates a certain group of 6 things. If this doesn't mean a literal command to offer sacrifices. For example, it could be an anagram. An anagram? Do you mean playing with letters? Yes, Kirie-san had been thinking that way ever since that moment. On the second Twilight, there are those who remain, which means that at the very least that something has a limited number of characters. You could read it like it's telling you to continue with the remaining characters after the first 6 characters are removed. In other words, on the first Twilight, we take a list of characters that's longer than 6, kill the 6 that are the key, and then do something with the characters that remain. That's right. But like Kirie said, what should we kill the characters from? We don't know this longer string of characters that we're supposed to be killing from. On the first Twilight, kill the 6 characters that are the key. On the first Twilight. In other words, by the time we reach the first Twilight, some string of characters already exists. That might be the set of Japanese characters, but knowing Grandfather's taste, could it be something in English? The first Twilight is more than 6 characters, even though the Japanese phrase has just 4. Good! That idea of yours isn't bad, Battler-san. We can interpret the 6 sacrifices, chosen by the key as a string of 6 characters. I think it's a very clever concept. That way, the key doesn't necessarily have to be key-shaped. I've also considered the possibility it's an anagram. Come to think of it, you did say something like that before. But in that case, where do we take the 6 characters out from? That's right. Since we're taking 6 characters out, it must be at least 6 characters long. We need to read this in some way that gives it more than 6 characters. If we follow Father's sensibilities, I guess it probably is English after all. If it looks like we're getting stuck, why don't we move on to the second Twilight and look for hints? Those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. We can probably think of those who remain as the remaining characters after the first 6 have been taken out. In that case, what does it mean by 2 characters that are close? I see. I get it, so that's what this is about. For example, let's take the following list of 9 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then let's say the 6 characters offered as sacrifices are 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. In this case, we erase the aforementioned 6 characters from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and get 2, 4, 5. So 2, 4, and 5 are left. So what? Oh, 4 and 5 are close. Yeah, I get it. So the two who are close are 2, 4, 5. Yeah. There's a gap between 2 and 4, but 4 and 5 are right next to each other. They're the two who are close. Good. Well done, Battler-san. We can't tell whether tear apart means to crush 4 and 5, or to put a gap between them, but I think it's a good observation. Then what do you think about the third twilight? Those who remain shall praise my noble name. Since there's a good chance that we're playing with letters, this might be the same thing. The characters that remain shall praise my noble name. Huh. That's tough. What could it mean? Does anyone know? I think I do. Huh? What is it? Tell me! Is this also an anagram? Once again, good! Battler-san, you're a pretty flexible thinker. By anagram, you mean playing with letters, right? That means... In other words, maybe you could make some kind of word by changing the order of the remaining letters. Yeah. If so... I might be getting ahead of myself with this theory, but maybe the original list of characters that the first Twilight's removed from is 11 characters long. Well done again. I reached the same conclusion. Why is that? Why do you think there are 11 characters? We think killing a single sacrifice means crushing a single letter. If we interpret the tear apart of the second Twilight to mean adding a gap between the two letters, then there are 11 characters total. If tear apart means to crush those two characters, then we can assume there are 13 characters. After all, from the 4th Twilight to the 8th Twilight, the word kill appears 5 times. And then, on the 9th Twilight, it's written that none will be left alive. If we ignore the part about the witch reviving for now, I figured that after crushing the first 6, separating the characters that are close, and then crushing 5 more of them, then there should be no characters left. So that makes 6 plus 5, or 11 characters. If tearing apart the two who are close in the second Twilight means to kill both of them, that makes 6 plus 2 plus 5, or 13 characters. There's a chance the word symbolizing the first Twilight has 11 or 13 characters. Wait, it couldn't be that easy, could it? Wonderfully done. That's the exact same theory I thought of. It looks like you were gifted with excellent little gray cells, just like me, Battler-san. Hey, quit it. Just doing what comes naturally. What the hell? The piece me is pretty damn smart. There's no room left for me to make theories. Oh, sorry about that. You weren't around at this point, so I just controlled your piece for you. Isn't it nice how smart I made you look? You look smarter when Burn's playing you. Why not step down as the player and concentrate on being a piece instead? I joined in on this game partway through, well after the first murders occurred on October 5th. That means the piece called me was controlled by the player, Burn Castell. So I guess that means it's possible for Burn Castell's reasoning to be announced through my mouth. The game I'm watching now is nothing more than a replay of a part that's already ended. However, that's probably good enough for now. After all, this Burn Castell-sama is going out of her way to solve the epitaph for me. I'll watch closely for now. And I'll try to find out what it means. Lambda Delta let it slip herself just a second ago. Well, duh. If I told you that, there'd be too many hints. If it wasn't a hard riddle, there'd be no point to it. Uh-oh, that's a hint too. This theory about Grandfather creating the epitaph in order to choose a successor isn't bad at all. Erica and Burn Castell's logic is extremely reasonable. But that's only if we assume Grandfather was the one to create it. He was probably alive at the time the epitaph was displayed. But of course Grandfather's already dead by 1986. And in the games up until now, Beatrice threatened us repeatedly with letters, saying that the only way to survive was to solve the epitaph, and trying to force us to solve the riddle. In other words, it was Beatrice's intention, Her hope that we would try solving the riddle of the epitaph. The epitaph's so confusing that, in most cases, the relatives never seriously tried solving it until the threatening letters started to arrive. That's why Beatrice fired the starting pistol that made us go take a look at it. Why is Beatrice carrying out grandfather's will after his death? Like the theory proposed in the first game, is Beatrice really grandfather's confidant, who's following his orders even after his death and trying to select a successor with the riddle of the epitaph in grandfather's stead? If she did that, it would mean Beatrice really was Kinzo's trusted underling, the family alchemist she claims to be in that letter. After grandfather's death, Beatrice managed the 10 tons of gold and took the title of alchemist. She was entrusted with the epitaph's riddle, and without ever embezzling the gold, she waited for a human fitting to be the successor to appear and solve it. If that human didn't appear within a set time limit, would that be game over? Certainly, Aunt Ava, who solved the riddle in the third game, became the only survivor, and automatically the final head of the Ushimiya family, inheriting everything. Up until now, no one has ever survived past October 5th except Aunt Ava, the one who solved the epitaph. That was the only case where Beatrice let anyone survive. Is Beatrice's loyalty to grandfather the thing that drove her? Was she so loyal she faithfully carried out some terrible order to kill everyone if the epitaph wasn't solved? I must not stop thinking. Don't stop thinking. Don't just think of the riddle itself, think about why it's significant. Why is Beatrice telling us to solve the epitaph? Why is she making us solve such a confusing epitaph? If Beatrice makes us try and solve the epitaph we have no chance of solving, and by some lucky chance a miracle occurs and someone's able to solve it, what significance would that have to her? I don't know what such a miracle would be worth to Bito. Anyway, until we figure out the first Twilight, we'll have to give up on the rest. We tried looking at it from several different angles, but in the end we got stuck there and made no further advances. Fuh! Maria let out an extra long yawn. This caused several other people to yawn. We'd been using our heads so much that everyone had gotten a little sleepy. Jessica, who had been silent and irritated the whole time, quickly stood up. I'm going upstairs with Maria. We'll watch TV or something. Okay, I'll go up too. Hey, why don't we all play cards upstairs? When George proposed this, Maria completely forgot about that big yawn of hers and started jumping around, insisting she wanted to play cards. According to the clock, it was already 10 o'clock at night. It was already about the time you'd normally take a bath and get ready for sleep. Even the adults seemed pretty weary from traveling. We decided to continue this later and went our separate ways. Will you play cards with us too, Erika-chan? I appreciate the sentiment. I overstepped my bounds a little, forgetting I'm a simple guest. I'd like to take it easy and rest for the night. I almost forgot I was recently in an accident. Seriously? You're in such high spirits it's hard to believe you almost drowned. That's youth for you. Still, I enjoyed it. I think we've taken a big step in our reasoning thanks to you. If I find the gold, I'll let you have about 1,000,000 yen worth. Ah ha ha! Can't you at least offer the poor girl 100 million? Ah ha ha ha! No need to bother. I'm only interested in solving the riddle. Well then, if you'll excuse me. Good night. Yeah, night. Oh, you aren't going upstairs, Badler-kun? I'm getting a bit interested. I'll think things through here just a bit longer. If I could just figure out the list of characters that marks the first Twilight, I bet the road before me will open up all at once. Everyone went up to the second floor one by one. Only Aunt Rosa remained behind, cleaning up the coffee cups everyone had been drinking out of. Kiria-san and others had offered to help, but Rosa had refused and was washing them all alone. Since I'd just been treated to such delicious coffee, I decided to help too. I wasn't just doing it because I felt obligated. I wanted to keep discussing the epitaph with someone. The first Twilight. The first Twilight. Huh. Aunt Rosa, have you thought of some list of characters or a word? No, I don't have a clue. But instead of the first twilight, it's a 10th twilight that bugs me. The 10th twilight? What about it? Well, at the end here it says you'll receive the Golden Land's 4 treasures, once and for the last time, right? Yeah, it does. Why mention that you're reaching the Golden Land just once, and then saying it's for the last time? It's almost as though he's repeating the same thing twice. I've just been wondering whether he had some reason for putting it like that. You're right. Like you said, there's gotta be a more straightforward way of saying that. That line should have been a key part of the riddle, where you wouldn't expect the writer to waste words needlessly. Could it have been done for some special purpose? Still, you and that Erika-chan girl are credible. Your minds really are flexible. I'm already an old lady and my brain just doesn't work that fast. That theory about the 6 chosen by the key, signifying 6 characters to be removed, was very impressive. After hearing that, I couldn't see it as being any other way. But before then, I didn't think it was like that at all. I'm feeling let down by my own dull mind. That's not true. You got a flexible mind yourself, Aunt Rosa. This last time thing might be really important somewhere down the line. Not at all. My mind's very stiff. Up until now, I've always thought that this first twilight was nothing more than a place 1/10 of the way on a road to the Golden Land. What's that? Sounds interesting. Mind telling me about it? After all, in the line before the first twilight, it says you must travel to the Golden Land, right? The next part describes a journey that lasts 10 days, so I thought the first twilight would be part of the way through the journey. Journey. I see. Then the journey begins, and when you set up camp at the first twilight, you offer the 6 of sacrifices. So where would that place be? How many kilometers from the starting point? Please don't tell anyone about your aunt's silly ideas, okay? When I first saw that part about attaining to the treasures of the Golden Land, I just assumed it was more of the same. Typically, attaining treasures would mean obtaining them, but I thought it meant reaching or arriving at some place. Some place 10 days away from Father's hometown, where all these treasures might be found. Are you kidding? That's a brilliant idea! And the first twilight is the first stop on that 10-day journey. The name of that place might be the key to moving forward. For my 10-day theory to work, you'll have to know both the start point and the end point. I know the start point. I know the hometown Father loved. The place Father spent his time when he was a boy is really far away. But the problem is the goal, the Golden Land. What does that really mean? If we don't know that, my theory gets us nowhere. I've been stuck at this spot for a long time, but after listening to your reasoning today, I realized what an embarrassing mistake I've been making. I like how she doesn't even tell us what hometown this is either, even when she's talking to Badler here. I don't even remember if they ever tell us this. Again, the actual solution to the riddle is not overall that important. It's more like the implications of it are important. No, I think that's still an interesting idea. A start and a goal, a 10-day journey, and the place reached at the very first twilight. Believe it or not, I think you might solve this one easily, Badler-kun. If you do solve it with your aunt's hint, share some with me. Even 5% would be great. It's a promise. Despite being my aunt, she gave me a smile and a wink, which would have made a man's heart jump. As I helped her wash the coffee cups, I kept pondering the epitaph's riddle in silence. After I finished helping Aunt Rosa, I passed through the corridor on my way to the bathroom, and saw Erika unlocking the door to a room on my path. I thought your room was on the 2nd floor. Figured you'd gone upstairs and fallen asleep by now. I was just searching for something. I thought it might be here. Searching for something? Erika unlocked the door and opened it. A dusty smell drifted out. Hey Aru, welcome to the stream! Thanks for stopping by, good to see you. Thank you for coming by today. It was the library. For a library, the gaps between bookshelves was extremely small. This was obviously built for storing books, not reading them. So it's a book you're searching for. Not necessarily a book, but materials, I guess you could say. There's something I've just got to look up. You're looking for something to do with the epitaph's riddle. Pretty impressive you haven't given up yet. Is the 20 billion yen that enticing? I haven't given up either. Apparently being stubborn is something we both share. Of course not. I'm only interested in solving puzzles. I searched for the gold only to prove my reasoning correct. Even if I found it, I wouldn't pocket it for myself, so I have no fears on that score. She immediately cast my comment aside, saying that she just liked solving riddles and had no interest at all in the gold. I thought she was pretty weird from the start, and it looks like that impression was spot on. Erika slowly circled the bookshelf, searching for the book she was after. I'm also trying to solve the epitaph right now. Oh yeah, just a second ago I heard something interesting from Aunt Rosa, which might give us a hint about the first Twilight. Let me hear it. Erika asked this without stopping her search, or even turning to face me. In the line before the first Twilight, it says that the one who obtains the key must do so-and-so. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. Whoa, you've already got it memorized. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. And what about that? Yeah, you gotta travel to the Golden Land, right? Apparently this made Aunt Rosa think about the 10th Twilight. In other words, going on a 10-day journey from the beloved homeland to the Golden Land. Actually, I already noticed that myself. You start from the place reached on the first day of the 10-day journey. That's where you take the sacrifices from. Yeah, that's what Aunt Rosa thought of too. I think the theory is pretty intriguing. We're looking for the place you'd reach on the first day of a 10-day journey. That bit of land, or else the name of that region, might be a key. I also guessed that the place's name might be a key. That's why I'm looking for materials. I want to turn my guess into certainty. Just what are you looking for? Then Erika's hand suddenly stopped, and she slowly pulled it out. As she dusted it off, she finally looked at me and spoke. It's an atlas. It seems we've managed to make it through the first day. Natsuki could be seen in the study. When she muttered as though to herself, the gold butterflies appeared and formed the shape of a person. We mustn't let our guards down. I can't imagine we'll last through tomorrow if we simply sit around here. So, as I suspected, simply saying father's in a bad mood and refuses to come out won't be enough to deceive them completely. Indeed, it seems last year left them quite suspicious. Because of that, the toxin has expanded and is coiling itself around the study, growing even tighter. I imagine it goes beyond mere suspicions raised last year. That's right. The toxin has grown too thick to be explained away by that alone. Someone must have suspected Kinzo-sama's death since last year, and is strongly intent on exposing the secret at this year's family conference. Does that mean we didn't have them fully deceived even a full year ago? Unfortunately, it's probably best to assume that given our current situation. The typhoon will remain here tomorrow, and the boat will not come for them until the day after. In short, we must endure for another 36 hours at the very least. It may not be visible to your eyes, Natsui, but the closed room barrier sealing this door was once very firm. Tonight, however, it has been worn down almost to the point of crumbling, like dry leaves awaiting a windstorm. No, the storm is already here. Natsui-sama, I propose we switch from the closed room barrier to something else. What do you mean by that? Oh, thanks, Ash. Are you suggesting we change our plan? That is correct. Virgilia-sama and I will reconstruct a barrier similar to last year's. In other words, we'll take Kinzo out of the study and have him tightrope walk from shadow to shadow where the toxin can't reach, just like last year. It may be dangerous, but I'd like to second her proposal. Is this a joke? Do you truly intend to change the plan this far in? When one realizes they cannot withstand a siege, they must consider the option of abandoning the castle. Right now, this room is like a castle surrounded by enemy troops, with its walls about to crumble. If staying put means certain death, then you also have the option of riding out for one last stand and an honorable defeat. After all, surrender doesn't seem to be an option in this fight. I'll protect Father's secret until the very end. If it's discovered, we'll have no choice to talk our way out of this. My husband's embezzlement will be exposed to the light of day, and the Ushimiya family's honor will be destroyed. We must remain firm and prevent that, no matter what may happen. Calm down, I understand you. Krause's alchemy will soon yield great results. If we could just make it through this year, we'll manage. So don't get flustered. But we used this strategy precisely because we wouldn't be able to pull off the same trick as last year, right? Isn't it the height of stupidity to return to a plan you previously abandoned because it was impossible? Just what sort of plan could we hope to make at this point? Ronov and I will prepare one. Leave it to us, for creating illusions is what witches do. All you have to do is give us your permission, Natsui-sama. Teacher and Ronov are quite reliable at times such as these. And the servants of the One-Winged Eagle are top-notch furniture. Once Teacher and Ronov rebuild the magic we need, I imagine the servants will work hard to protect it. It still isn't too late. Let's take Kinzo out of the study and make that illusion walk around. Did you forget we chose our current strategy because we considered plans like that and couldn't find anything that would work? It would be the height of foolishness to get flustered in an emergency and carelessly throw away our primary plan. Hey Dev, welcome to the stream, good to see you. Thanks for coming by today. But Natsui-sama, as you stand there amidst the toxin, you must realize better than anyone else that we will no longer be able to outlast the siege. I propose we try and think of another plan without changing our objective of holding the fort. In any event, as long as we keep this room sealed, no one will be able to deny Father's existence. After all, one cannot determine the contents of a cat box that no number of people could ever hope to open. Well, that may be true, but humans are capable of defying reason. It's possible for them to eat into an airtight cat box and go inside like black ants closing in on a box of cake. Lady Berncastell's peace also worries me. It was fortunate that Erika-sama stole the show at tonight's dinner. By doing that, she created an atmosphere in which it was possible to close down the family conference for the night. If you all returned directly to the family conference as usual, the barrier might have been broken tonight. However, it also made the toxin grow even thicker. After it thickens all night, it might manage to penetrate the closed room barrier with ease. Whether we continue to hold down the fort or not, we will not make it through tomorrow unless we prepare a new strategy and a new barrier. Lady Berncastel may have some plan for breaking the closed room barrier. We can't take that piece called Erika lightly. Come to think of it, that man who mentioned taking revenge for the events of 19 years ago might also be a piece of Lady Berncastel's. This board achieved equilibrium with 18 pieces, but now it has 2 undesired pieces added to it. There are too many irregularities this year. Lady Berncastel is a fan of Eastern things. In shogi or Japanese chess, aren't you allowed to drop pieces in during a game? Yes, that is possible. Even the act of dropping a queen from the captured pile right in front of the enemy king is an allowable trump card in shogi. I wonder what that man who claimed to have a connection from 19 years ago is doing now. Is he already hiding somewhere on this island? That girl called Erika was able to appear by claiming to have drifted here. That man might have also landed somewhere on this island despite the typhoon, and he might be hiding somewhere now. And it's going to be hard to fully deceive the relatives any longer. Why? Why have so many irregular things happened at the same time? How could you explain this nightmarish miracle of coincidence? Hey Kieran, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for the stretch. You should stretch too at home. Sit up straight in your seat. Make sure you keep that posture. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Natsui slammed the desk hard, held her head, and cringed at the pain from her overwhelming headache. Lady Byrne-Castell controls miracles. There's no point being surprised at irregularities or miracles when she's around. While shogi is a game in which an enemy piece might suddenly appear in front of a king, for that very reason you must build up a perfect formation that won't allow for such a weakness, artistically constructing a castle around your king. Hey Sunflower, good to see you too. Thank you so much for dropping by. In that case, isn't holding the fort exactly what we should be doing right now? Perhaps, if we had a fort we could hold, but we cannot hope for such a thing now. It's difficult to corner a king with no wall to his back, and even more difficult to corner one with open spaces on all directions. Think of a mouse. You can catch a mouse that's shut in a cage. However, catching a mouse in a field is like trying to catch a cloud. Natsui-sama, please allow us to consider this option. Kinzo-sama will leave his study and wander around the mansion on a whim, avoiding the gazes of the relatives. We will think of a natural-seeming plan for this by morning. Don't you see the danger? If we're willing to consider such a dangerous option, wouldn't it be better to continue acting as though father's in his room in a bad mood? Tomorrow, the relatives will crowd around the study once again. They'll be right on the other side of that single door. When that happens, just how long do you intend to make it seem like they're having a yelling match with Kinzo-sama? It's impossible. And we must find a way to postpone that impossibility for 36 hours. If you tell me to do it, I will. I am Ushimiya Natsuhi, the wife of the Ushimiya family head. If you tell me to do that, I will act out a shouting match with father for as many days as it takes. Ugh! Even Natsui realized she could never manage it, but she no longer saw any chance of victory from a plan that involved an illusion of Kinzo walking around. Banging on the desk several times with tears of rage streaming down her face, Natsui alternated between groaning from her headache and placing the blame on one thing or another. It made one feel there must be some curse that made anyone who sat in that chair act that way. This is like a game of mating shogi, where you are on the defensive. In mating shogi, the opponent has no king, and you have no way of winning other than avoiding a checkmate for a predetermined number of moves. And to think that I must escape for a whole day and a half's worth of moves. It's just too many. Don't stop thinking. Don't give up. I'll listen to your complaints, so don't have a fit. Your unshaking will to overcome this trial will bring you success with certainty. That's the power of the Witch of Certainty for you. You must not lose that magical power. Believe that you will overcome this no matter what. I'm sure you'll think of a brilliant plan. Therefore, you mustn't give up, and you mustn't stop thinking. You're right. I understand. Only I can overcome this hardship. That is correct. Didn't Kinzo entrust you with the job of overcoming these challenges? Kinzo acknowledged that you were worthy of that responsibility. Father. Father. Teacher and Rodov will think of a move. Of course I will think as well. However, even we cannot do without permission from our master, from you. So at the very least, don't abandon your will to fight. Don't give up. I understand, but I'm already all tired out, and I can't stand this headache. Why is it that I'm crying here all alone in this frigid study? Why? Why isn't my husband here for me now? Back when dinner ended, Kraus claimed to be dizzy and went to bed early. Of course, he had done this to get enough rest to ready himself for the long day ahead, but to Natsui right now, it felt as though he'd just gone straight to sleep and pushed the entire burden on her. However, complaining about such a thing would mean her failure as a wife. Isn't it a good wife's duty to work hard and put family first, even when her husband is resting? Filled with regret, even at her anger towards her husband, unable to determine at whom she should be angry, Natsui continued to sob. If only Kinzo could just speak to her kindly at times like this. Ito searched for him. Kinzo had been nowhere to be seen in the study for some time now. Perhaps Natsui had noticed this as well. Though she bragged that fighting alone and supporting from behind was the responsibility of a good wife, without anyone to tell her this really was necessary, she was now so frail she couldn't even stop her own tears. Just as Bito was trying to think of words to console Natsui, Virgilia tapped her lightly on the shoulder. Sometimes when words of consolation don't come from the mouth of the right person, they can do more harm than good. So Virgilia silently told Bito that remaining silent was the best course of action for now. Hi, sorry to interrupt. I know I'm an outsider, but I wonder if you'd let me speak. Gop, please restrain yourself for the time being. No, in this room there's no distinction between outsiders, guests, and the rest of us. You may speak. Thank you. Ronov said it himself a while ago. This is mating shogi with you on the defensive. How do you lose in mating shogi? It's when your king is checkmated, right? That goes without saying. And the opponent has no king. Therefore, all Natsui could do is have her king run away constantly. I see. So you're thinking of that move. Has that time already come? What do you mean? Do you mean there's some sort of move remaining to us? It's what you proposed in the very beginning about how to hide Goldsmith's death. I'm trying to say the time's come for us to use that. You mean, have him go missing? You mean to make that move right now during the family conference? That's too dangerous. Once they successfully resolved all their problems, they would have to lay Kinzo to rest. And the best way to do that was to make him disappear. One day Kinzo would go out into the forest and never return. They wouldn't be able to find him no matter how much they searched, so he would be declared missing. You said it yourself a while ago, Rish. You can't catch a mouse that's escaped into a field. You can't catch a goldsmith who's disappeared into the forest. You planned for us to talk our way out of this like that. To use such a move now when the suspicion against us is greatest would be no better than committing suicide. Oh, they will probably suspect it. Such a move would most certainly lead to mistrust. However, even if they were to set foot in the study, they would find nothing to aid them. It would never be again possible for them to keep Kinzo-sama pinned down, and no matter how much they suspected his death, they would be unable to prove it. Forget about a mere 36 hours. You'll be able to protect Kinzo's secret forever that way, right? Of course, we'll also have to bear an appropriate risk. If you make that move, you might be able to overcome this particular challenge, but we cannot even guess at how much prestige you might lose for it. Even so, it's a move that will most certainly overcome our current challenge. Of course, you'll then have to face an even greater suspicion, but you won't die. Yes, that may be true, but... During the Great Kanto earthquake, the Ushimiya family should have died. However, the mad genius goldsmith revived it so splendidly that it's now something you desire to protect. So this time, it's up to you and your husband, the new head, and his wife to do the same. Huh, is that how you intend to stir her up? I'm not stirring her up. I'm just asking if she's prepared to be the wife of the head. Are you prepared to protect the Ushimiya family, even if you end up getting dragged to the dirt to do it? I am prepared. Then now is the time. If you can survive by being dragged through the dirt, then crawl with all your might. You'll inch your way through this world of suffering, and eventually you'll restore that glory. I, Gop, the 33rd in rank, promise you this. Gop. The fact that I came to play at a time like this must be a sign from the gods of happenstance. I'll keep this promise, Ushimiya Natsui. I require nothing in return. Rish, the one who serves you has already paid me plenty in advance. Gop may have seemed irresponsible, but she actually possessed a strong sense of duty. She was the kind of person who just couldn't leave someone in trouble alone. Payment in advance? When did I do that? I have no memory of such a thing. Oh, I just mean those magical items you couldn't remember where you put. I made off with quite a few of them. What? So that was your doing after all? Give them back! Give back my illusionary silver crystal and moonstick. I still haven't played around by sticking them together yet. This is a Sailor Moon reference, of course. That's the sort of magic and strategy you can expect from me. I can hide Goldsmith away in a world where no one would be able to find him. Let me know the instant you need that magic. Until then, feel free to think of another safer plan. Yeah, the boing sound effects whenever they're trying to be silly. It's so funny. True. Having alternatives is beneficial for your peace of mind. And without that, you'll never think of a brilliant plan. Natsui-sama, we have quite some time remaining for us tonight. Let's leave Gop's strategy as a final trump card and iron out a plan of our own, for now. Please give us permission. And please give us the trust, magical power, and absolute conviction we'll need to succeed without fail. If you have faith, I will make your dreams come true. If you succumb to doubt, I will make those nightmares come true. You must build your own future. Hey, Relix! Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Kinzo would disappear, and right in the middle of this family conference. Such a move truly would be a last resort. Burying this final trump card in her heart, Natsui decided that she would grope around for a different plan until the last second. After all, this long night has only just begun. Burn Castell at her peace had just as long to prepare as Natsui did. Gouge the foot and kill. And that completes it. I see, so that really was what gouge meant. Once again, my reasoning was correct. The feel of this time was clearly different from the previous times, as though some sort of device had activated. However, as far as a quick glance could tell, there was no dramatic change, such as an entrance or some sort of opening. Apparently, they would need to do just a little more before they could find it. You're incredible. If we really do find the gold, we'll have to split it together. Enjoying the intellectual stimulation is enough for me. The only thing I like is solving riddles. The only reward I need is proof that I was right. She shrugged it off, implying that just seeing the gold would be enough. Then she crouched down, peering fixedly at the lock mechanism. It's definitely no mistake to say this girl really loves solving riddles. For her, treasure hunting is all about the delicious process of exposing secrets, so she has no interest whatsoever in getting the treasure for herself and becoming a billionaire. I see. Pretty cocky of you setting up a device like this. The mistake you all made was letting me on this island in the first place. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone? As she said this to the now exposed contraption, she grinned. Her smile was triumphant, but it was more fully characterized by a small bit of unpleasant disdain contained within. After solving the riddle, she was probably reveling in the pleasure of having won against the one who had proposed it, and she enjoyed her ability to scoff at this person now. If we find the gold now, the successor won't be Kraus-san, but you. Huh. Well, I wonder. Isn't Kraus-san kind of arrogant? You might even call him a braggart. It'll be pretty amusing to see him lose both the gold and his position as a successor to his nephew in the course of a single night, won't it? Erika was still crouched down as she spoke, her back to Battler as she toyed around with the device. Jessica-san was her name, right? The girl who talked back to me. Yeah. She really was acting big about her father being the successor. When she wakes up tomorrow and learns you've inherited all the gold, and that her father's no longer the successor, I wonder what kind of expression she'll have on her face. I've got no intention of keeping that 20 billion to myself. Well, if I got even 10%, that'd be as much as I could handle. We could split the rest fairly amongst the family. I'm even less interested in being successor. I'll be glad to let Uncle Kraus deal with that. Will you really be able to sell things that easily in the end? Well, rather than trying to make guesses about that, I imagine it'll be more fun to guess at the expression Jessica-san wears tomorrow, and what kind of sad excuses she'll try to make. You really do have a nasty personality. Oh? Couldn't you reason that out from the time you learned that I like solving riddles? I'm an intellectual rapist who enjoys exposing things people try to hide, get it? Okay, so Erika uses this term, and I don't really like it. I think it's a direct translation from the original Japanese, but she calls herself an intellectual rapist because you'll find later as she gets nastier and nastier, or as we find out more about her, like basically she loves outwitting people, and that's a big part of her as an antagonist later on, is that she puts people in situations where they're basically forced to admit that she has outwitted them in every single way possible. So she calls that this. And again, it's an unpleasant word, which I think is supposed to reflect her personality, and they probably chose a direct translation. Again, I'm not really a fan of it, so just a disclaimer here, but it is, I think, an accurate phrase from the original novel. The same thing goes for solving the epitaph's riddle. I'll bet you want to expose the gold grandfather worked so hard to hide. Yes, that was my goal at first, but it changed partway through. Partway through? Changed to what? I mean, Jessica-san, she butted in on my reasoning, contaminating that pure and noble time. Ever since then, I've been trying to solve the epitaph so I could teach that Jessica a lesson. Are you serious? I'll make all opponents surrender, no matter who they are. That is my sole pleasure. Do you still need me to reason it out for you? Yeah, thank you for your understanding. Ushime Jessica irritated me. That's why I want to put her in her place and decide to solve the epitaph. That's what led to the emotions I hold now. Can you reason out what those emotions are? This time, I turned my back on her in earnest. Did I get a bit too excited by this riddle-solving game, letting her drive me on and do something terrible? That's right. It should have been possible to reason this out. If the riddle's solved, the relatives would probably freak out about who the successor should be. Dad and some others would probably push for me, the discoverer, to be the successor, and some relatives not thrilled with that prospect would probably oppose them. Despite how adamantly Erika affirmed it, it isn't written anywhere that the one who solves the riddle of the epitaph becomes the successor. Because of this, it'll lead to a fight between those who acknowledge that theory and those who don't. If I reason out what will happen next, as Erika did, it'll probably lead to a messy fight between Uncle Kraus and the rest of the relatives. Now that I solved the riddle, will Jessica admire me? Or curse me? I don't want to think about that now. Erika was still mumbling. Apparently she had already started trying to reason it out. As I began to feel very bad, I vaguely gazed out into the black night. At the time, I looked at the dim outdoor light, and saw the silhouette of a person in front of it. I thought I must be seeing things. After all, it was unthinkable that someone could have been standing there this whole time, pounded upon by the rain without even an umbrella. However, the silhouette didn't move an inch. And maybe... No, it couldn't be. It was looking at me. And it was... Grandfather. At that moment, I understood. Grandfather's probably been watching us solve the riddle this whole time. And he watched as we spectacularly solved the whole thing. Huh. Without a doubt, there was a faint smile on Grandfather's face. Grandfather, who had never worn anything except moody and frightening expressions, looked at me in the eye and smiled at me for the first time. Almost as though he was saying, "How impudent," or else, "I never thought it would be you." However, this is still the result that Grandfather's epitaph chose, so I'm sure he accepted that result. In the end, he grinned one more time. Of course, he didn't use words. His smile seemed to be wordlessly saying, "Well done." I didn't know how I should respond. I couldn't do anything but stand there in shock, ignoring Erika as she crouched down, mumbling with her back towards me. Then Grandfather stretched out a hand in front from the folds of his cloak and pointed at something. When I looked in that direction, there was. The thing he was pointing at was probably The signpost to the Golden Land. Go. I'm sure grandfather said that one word. I nodded to show I understood. After watching that, grandfather nodded back, satisfied. Then with a spin of his cloak, he disappeared, seeming to melt into the darkness. Thank you for the Chaos Relix. The expression on his face at the end was a smile that was for the first time truly satisfied. Are you listening, Battler-san? Did you hear my reasoning? I found it. That's the signpost to the Golden Land. Huh? Ah, it's facing a different direction than it used to. I see. So that means go that way. You've got some pretty good powers of observation. Grandfather told me about it. Huh? Kinzo-san? Where is he? I'm going. Let's have a look at what you're showing us. Just what is this Golden Land? We started to walk. The entrance to the Golden Land was right there. So, my epitaph has finally been solved. And it was Battler who did it. Wonderful. Couldn't be better. When I think about it, I was also ahead that no one saw coming. How amusing that the one to succeed me is just as surprising. I have no more regrets in life. Beatrice, I am coming to join you. Along with a present, the miracle chosen by my epitaph. Battler of all people. That Battler. At the very end of my life, I have seen a true miracle. Beatrice, I've won this bet. Yahoo! Except for its non-corrosive properties, there's no practical way to turn gold into money. I imagine it'd take a lot of work to exchange all this for cash. At the end of a crude underground tunnel in a VIP room so beautiful it seemed improper, was a pile of gold so large there could be no doubting its 20 billion yen worth. Eric was calm, but Battler couldn't suppress his excitement. As for which of the two was the correct reaction to show after seeing a mountain of gold, only those who saw the scene with their own eyes could say for sure. In this day and age, it's said that an average salaryman earns about 200 million yen in wages over his life. And this is 20 billion yen worth of that gold. With even 1/100th of this gold mountain, a single human could live their entire life without working. What is labor? Isn't it the very point of a human's life, since a person who doesn't work cannot eat? If so, then 20 million yen is enough to make a single person's life complete. And this is 20 billion yen. This would account for the labors of 100 humans. No, a single human life 100 times over. Of course, if you still want to work, you could. Any money you gained as a result could be used to play with. You heading to bed, Relix? Thank you so much for coming to the stream. I hope you were able to rest well and have a great night. I really appreciate it. After all, you would already have enough money to live for your entire life. No, for eternity. No, wait, I mustn't keep it all to myself. I can split it up among 100 people. If I could create a world where the full 100 humans wouldn't have to work for their whole lives, just what kind of world would that be? Yeah, there's no doubt at all. This is the Golden Land. There you go. Burr and Battler magnificently discovered the gold. Congrats. I had her hide the more central parts of it, but what's wrong with being just a little mean, right? Sure, do that as much as you like. I'm not interested in the micro details about what kind of riddle it was or what kind of answer it had. The important thing is that as a result, 10 tons of gold were discovered. The gold was discovered in the third game as well by Aunt Ava. Aunt Rosa also witnessed it. However, the two of them hadn't spoken of the gold's discovery to anyone. In other words, there was a chance that the gold's discovery was a catbox truth that kept between the two of them. More specifically, it was possible the gold didn't exist, it was just an illusion. However, I have finally found it. The catbox has been opened. It'd be a waste of time to do that repeated game, so I'll give you a little bonus. This mountain of gold is real. All of the ingots piled up here are real, pure gold. There are absolutely no tricks such as replicas or fakes. Okay, got it. I'll accept that this gold exists. However, there are still some things I can't accept. Of course. You met with him, didn't you? With Kinzo. Even though Kinzo's supposedly an illusion, you met with him just a second ago, right? I guess that really was magic, wasn't it? Ridiculous. I didn't exchange any words with Grandfather. I only felt as though Grandfather and I had exchanged words. Give it a rest, the same move won't work again. In that case, your blue truth, if you please. I was probably in an excited state after solving the epitaph's riddle. Then I mistook something for Grandfather. For example, maybe there's some kind of sheet or cover that had gotten caught in a dark grove of trees, which looked like Grandfather was wearing a pitch-black cloak. As a result, I mistakenly thought I'd had some sort of conversation with Grandfather. Blue truth valid. Well, I did say the exact same thing in blue. So, did it work? Where's your counter with the red truth? I have none. At least not now, okay? The me, who let out a strange yell in front of the gold mountain, was finally starting to regain his cool. Now that we've found it, there's no covering it up. I vaguely considered keeping this discovery a secret. However, Erica wants to prove that her own reasoning was correct by announcing this to everyone. She really is an intellectual rapist, just as she says. The puzzle-solving game is what's important to her, and she doesn't intend to take any responsibility for what happens after the riddle is solved. A riddle is sort of like a lock. Locks exist to be locked, and they're only significant when they're locked. Therefore, it ought to be essential to have some goal in mind when exposing such a thing. However, to this girl, the act of exposing is itself her final goal, and she has no intention of taking responsibility for anything that happens later. Maybe the true storm to hit Rokenjima isn't the typhoon, but her. She won't keep this discovery secret. She'll definitely announce it so she can brag about her success. Then she'll call a real storm down upon this island. I won't be able to keep this covered up. In that case, there's nothing to do but announce this fact fairly to all. I can't imagine what'll happen next. As she grinned, Erica muttered to herself. She must have been anticipating the uproar the relatives would be so soon to bring about. To her, merely imagining that was far sweeter than 20 billion yen in gold. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erica. What do you think, everyone? The sudden sound of knocking, or the sudden sound of someone banging fiercely on the door brought Natsui to her senses. She had probably nodded off in the study while planning how they would overcome the next day. But what could it be? At a time like this? More importantly, the knock itself was strange. If someone wanted to contact her, they would have just used the internal phone line. She told them that she'd be here. Realizing that something strange was going on, Natsui shook her head one more time, completely throwing off her drowsiness. Father! Father! It's Ava. I have an urgent, vital matter to discuss with you. It was Ava's voice. What is this? I thought I told them to lock the doors and windows of the mansion tightly after everyone left for the guest house. So why is Ava here? Natsui ran up to the door, responded with a small knock and spoke through the door in a quiet voice. What is it? You're too noisy. Natsu, ne-san, why are you and father study at this hour? I told you to be quiet. Have you forgotten that the head values peace and silence more than anything else? Now's not the time to be saying that. Stop harping on that and open up quickly. Bring father out. The head just went to sleep. I don't know what business you have, but I will deal with it tomorrow. I don't have any business with you. Just open up right now. Sometimes, multiple schemes and assumptions can fall apart due to the most direct, simple, and emotional of strategies. This is bad. If I open the door, Ava will probably throw herself forwards and rush into the study. Dev, thank you so much for the bits. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Now I can't even open this door. Oh, thank you for the chaos side. Good time for some chaos. Oh look, I have a weight stuck on my head. At that moment, the phone suddenly rang. It's okay. Both the keys to the study are here. No one can open this door. Natsui inched away from the door and grabbed the receiver. Hello, it's Natsui. It's me. Things are bad. I want you to come down to the parlor quickly. It was from Kraus. His tone was strained. What in the world happened? It would seem that Badler-kun and this guest called Erica solved the witch's epitaph and found the gold. Huh? Is that true? Rudolph and the rest have forced their way in. They're saying Badler-kun will show everyone the way to the hidden gold. Right now, Ava-san is just outside the study door yelling at me to open it. But if I do that, she might push her way inside. No, I understand. I will go there too. Don't worry about Ava. Just stay there and don't do anything. I'll give you a signal once I've gotten Ava away from the door, so leave as soon as you hear that. Ready? Right after that, Kraus came up the staircase, accompanied by Genji. A heated debate started between him and Ava. Open up! No, calm down! In the middle of that, there was a small knock as a signal. Kraus had cleverly pushed Ava away from the door and distracted her. During that gap, Natsui slipped out of the study and quickly shut the door. Ava noticed this and her face twisted in disappointment. But the heavy sound of the autolock had already run out, and the door had been sealed. The gold of the epitaph has been found! It's only natural we should inform Father about this. Or else what? Is there some reason you can't tell Father about this? Father gave strict orders that he not be awakened, no matter what, after he went to bed. Following those orders is the duty of the head's representative. Isn't that right, Genji-san? Yes. The master's sleep must not be disturbed no matter what happens. Even a rule like that depends on time and circumstances, don't it? I mean, the epitaph was solved. Father has a right to know straight away. Of course, the two of us will report on everything to the head tomorrow. That's our duty as the head's representatives. I don't care about that. Come on, just open this door. Let me see Father. Father, can you hear me? It's Ava. Please open up. Ow, let go of me. That hurts. We're telling you to listen to us. Don't knock on the door so loudly. Ow, ow. Let go of me. Kraus-sama, Ava-sama. The master is sleeping. Please refrain from disturbing him any further. When Genji spoke firmly, the two finally ceased their scuffle. It seemed that Genji, the one who had spoken for Kinzo since they were very young, still possessed an air of dignity strong enough to handle both Kraus and Ava. Ava put her argument aside for the time being. She could hold off on worrying about that until she saw the gold with her own eyes. After all, not even Ava had seen it for herself yet. Natsui and the others had managed to somehow deal with the momentary crisis. However, the move of the demons that would sneer upon their efforts had already begun. Badler solved the riddle of the epitaph, you say? Yes. Though he had a lot of help from that Erica girl, Badler was the one who reached the answer. Erica has proclaimed that she will abandon her rights to the Golden Land. Therefore, the one who reached the Golden Land is Badler. Fate can be truly amusing. To think that Badler-sama would make it there. What will you do, Bito? You promised to stop the ceremony if anyone solved the epitaph's riddle. Yes, that was the deal. That was the deal. Indeed. Apparently, Balor-sama does not intend to become the master of the Golden Land. It now seems that no one will become our master. That is also fate. It has been several decades since we first manifested in the human world through our bond with Lord Goldsmith. The time since then has been so very fun. Come on, Leah, you sound like an old lady. So, what are we gonna do? If we go by Rish and Goldsmith's rules now that Badler solved the epitaph, and decide not to become our master, we've been relieved from duty, right? That's true. I have no regrets at all. I've been prepared to be kicked down into the Cositus all this time. Wait, we can't let that happen. You might not have any regrets, but I will keep on serving Natsui. It will be quite irresponsible to let ourselves be relieved from duty just because Badler solved the epitaph. Witches are forbidden from breaking contracts, but they must also not fail to show gratitude. True. We should serve her until the family conference ends. In that case, you won't be relieved from duty for a while either, Lord Goldsmith. Perhaps you should wait until you're overcome this family conference safely, said goodbye to Natsui-sama at the very least, and if possible, rewarded her for all her efforts. Indeed, she has done well supporting my foolish son. You're a fallen angel with one of its wings plucked off, aren't you? Just leave the other wing as a parting gift and go. Indeed, perhaps that would be fitting. Natsui may be worthy of bearing my wing. However, we are approaching the critical moment. Your reward is waiting for you. Try to make it through this test unscathed, Natsui. The Mountain of Gold left everyone speechless, regardless of how strongly they had believed in its existence. No one could look at this much real gold and not be shocked. To think a place like this existed. I can't believe it. Dad! Everyone was stunned by the gold. The first one to break the silence and jump around in ecstasy was Hideyoshi. Letting out an excited laugh, he clung to the wall of gold. Then he felt the cold, hard touch of it all over his cheek. This is incredible! It's the real thing! That damn dad of ours sticking this much gold in such a ridiculous place. Now that we have this much, we no longer have anything to fear. With this, we could overcome any kind of trial. Rosa! Nesan, we'll be able to find happiness with this, right? Ava and Rosa moved towards each other at the same time and hugged as they broke down crying. Ecstasy and shock, wonder and sighs. After stepping forward in front of the pile of gold that had caused these mixed emotions, Erika spoke as though she was an announcer in some show. If this world is money, then this gold is the embodiment of happiness. Congratulations, everyone. I pray that this discovery makes all of your lives richer. I take my hat off to you. To think you'd solve the epitaph within a single day of coming to this island. If you couldn't solve it in a single day, then you wouldn't be able to solve it no matter how many days you had. After all, it doesn't take more than an instant for your little gray cells to give you a flash of intuition. Also, I wouldn't have been able to solve the riddle myself. I ask you praise Badler-san's achievement as well, everyone. I abandon all rights to this discovery. I'm already satisfied to have my reasoning proven correct. So I'd like to give Badler-san full credit. I may be here, but please continue discussion as though I wasn't. Badler-san called all of us adults here, making sure that none of the cousins would notice. That could only mean one thing. He must have wanted to begin the true family conference with all of you. Erika, quit deciding things on your own. My apologies. In that case, I'll step down as the facilitator of these proceedings. So who will take my place? Thank you for the chaos, EB. Frogs everywhere. Shrugging, Erica looked around at everyone. After a short period of silence, Ava made the first move. None of us have forgotten the deal we made earlier today, right? Hey, Sai. Thanks. Yeah. Divide it between the 4 of us with 2.5 billion for each. And then the successor gets another 10 billion. Wait a second. Who decided that the one who discovers the gold becomes the successor? Hold up. You won't be able to get away with that, Natsui-san. We've all been arguing based on the premise this whole time, haven't we? You really think you can pretend that never happened now? That's right. Weren't you the one worrying about how if one of the servants solved the riddle, they might consider themselves the successor? But nowhere is it explicitly written that's the truth, right? You bastard! We were all aware of it, weren't we? That's right, Aniki. Are you gonna change your position this late in the game? Though it was never stipulated, I believe it was common knowledge between us. I don't see how you can suggest we ignore it completely. You can't just interpret the head's epitaph however you like. Where is it written that the one who finds the gold becomes the successor? The epitaph was decided upon by the head. You have no right to decide these things for yourselves. Calm down, Natsui. How can I calm down? Yes, I do find it quite impressive that Battler-kun solved the epitaph. I certainly believe he should be rewarded for it. However, it's clearly a stretch to suggest that he deserves half of everything, and you won't get away with the argument the discoverer becomes the successor. That's low, Natsui-ne-san. This is completely different from what you were saying earlier today. I agree. Though it was never stipulated, the fact that whoever solves the epitaph becomes the successor has always been the greatest unwritten rule we've had. It's not fair if you start complaining about that at the last second, right? Yeah, it isn't fair. Anyway, this gold is Father's. We can't decide how it will be split up without Father's permission. No way! That's low, Natsui-san. We were talking about this on and on earlier, right? Are you saying that the whole conversation today was a bunch of bull? It just ain't right. Why don't we just vote on it? Battler-kun, the one who found the gold, is the successor. My husband and I have no objections. What about you, Rudolph and Kyrie-san? Rosa? No objections here. Nice going, Battler. I have no objections either. Battler-kun is the true successor, chosen by the epitaph. If you aren't satisfied, then why don't we just ask Father directly? That's right. Just like you said, Natsui-ne-san, Father is the one who wrote the riddle of the epitaph, and he's also the proper owner of this gold. In that case, shouldn't we talk to Father about this directly? How should Battler-kun, the one who discovered the gold, be treated? I believe Father is the one capable of making this decision. But... didn't I tell you to calm down? Rosa and Kiryu-san are right. Let's ask Father. Your turn is already over, Nissan, Natsui-ne-san. Yeah, bring Father out to us. We won't get anywhere with just you two. Let's begin the real family conference. Does this look like something you can put off just because he's tired? If we take this thing lightly, we'll have a massive problem on our hands. Hey, are you listening? We won't get anywhere with just you. Bring Father out right now. Our family conference is always like this. How the hell I know? They're probably always like this on the inside. Heh. Looks like they won't be able to get this figured out right now without Kinzo-san. To think he's being called out to settle his children's fight even though it's been announced that he has only a short while to live. I wonder how he feels right now about this. Reasoning that out will be a treat. The parents ignored Battler and Erica and kept yelling at each other on and on. Even though Battler had more or less imagined that this sort of thing happened behind the scenes, this was the first time he'd seen it. He'd suspected it since 6 years ago, and he'd been able to get a pretty good idea of what this was like, by the darkening expressions on his parents' faces when this time of year drew near. However, this argument his relatives were having before his very eyes was much more ugly than he'd imagined. That's why he was very glad he'd called the adults out here without letting the cousins catch wind of anything. Perhaps because everyone was tired out from the seemingly endless argument, they took a short break. It was decided this family conference inside the Golden Land should be moved over to the mansion. This place may have been gorgeous like a VIP room, but there was no heating and it was a little cold. It wasn't well suited for a long conversation. They thought of the possibility that someone might snatch the gold away while their backs were turned, but of course no one could manage much with just human hands in a small amount of time when there's 10 tons of gold they're dealing with. In fact, it might be said that having this mountain of gold in the background was actually robbing them of the ability to make sound decisions. So they agreed to return to the mansion, in part so they could regain their composure and continue the conference more cold-bloodedly. Then, if you would excuse me for the night, I imagine I'd just get in the way if I remained any longer. Sure, sorry. Did we bother you too much? Let us show our gratitude again tomorrow. Sorry for letting you see such an embarrassing side of us. You said you refused, but allow us to prepare a fitting portion out of gratitude for you as the first to discover the gold. Right, Ni-san? Yes. We know what you're capable of. I think you can grasp our current circumstances. 20 billion yen in gold isn't something they wanted out in the open. They didn't want an outsider like Erica telling people about it. Of course, Erica had already reasoned out that much. She wore an unpleasant smile on her face as though she understood all too well. You don't need to worry about me. Of course, I have no desire to tell anyone else about this. And if I did, no one would believe me without proof. I got to see something interesting tonight. It was quite a spectacle, so I'm more than satisfied. Huh, I see. I guess it's not every day you see 10 tons of gold. Seeing the gold was a spectacle? Of course not. Judging by Erica's dark nature, it's obvious what she's so happy about. I thought about telling her to just go away, but even I want to get out of this place. I tried to head back to the guest house along with Erica. However, Kirie-san grabbed my shoulder. You can't go, Badler-kun. Please come with us. Yes. You're now a real successor. You've got to have an audience with Father and have him acknowledge you right away. That's something only the family head may decide. Don't make up things on your own. Badler, I realize it'll be a pain, but stick around with us for a bit longer. Don't say anything. Just stay quiet and keep your head down. Got it? Just do whatever you want. It would have been easy to say I had no interest in being the successor, but I was sure that only would add more oil to the fire. Even if I hadn't been ordered to keep quiet, staying shut up like a clam was clearly a good idea. In that case, would it really be so bad if they just let me go to the guest house? Dad put his arm firmly around my shoulder and I told him it was uncomfortable and to let go. However, he didn't pay attention to a word I said. I saw the epitaph, just like you wanted. When you were the game master, we'd always get those letters. Try and solve the epitaph. If you don't, I'll kill you all. Why did she want to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph? By solving it, we found a mountain of gold. Yippee for us. And what about Bito? Does she gain anything by having us find the gold? Or does she lose something? As far as chessboard thinking tells us, people don't ever make moves that cause them to lose something. That means you must have something to gain by having us solve the epitaph. No. This child has nothing to gain from having someone solve the epitaph. Are you sure that's okay? Using red like that without her permission. This child most likely wishes for it. Virgilia, who had suddenly appeared there, quickly gave an answer to my question with the red truth. In the past, I sometimes guessed that Bito tried to make us solve the epitaph because she wanted to make us find the gold's hiding place for her so she could snatch it away. Is that wrong too? Yes. In the first place, the gold of the Golden Land belongs to this child. She had absolutely no need to make someone find it for her, or to snatch it away herself. Of course, Bito is Beatrice the Golden. Isn't she the master of the Golden Land and the Ushimiya family alchemist? That totally makes sense. However, that makes me even more confused. Even if someone exposed the answer to the epitaph's riddle, Bito has nothing to gain. No, to the contrary, her own gold might be stolen away. In that case, I'm understanding this less and less. I understand the epitaph murders. It might be revenge against the Ushimiya family, or else a ceremony to revive her powers as a witch. After all, she's probably doing this because of some reason or goal of her own. But what's the point of her telling us to solve the epitaph? Whether we solve it or not, she has nothing to gain at all. In other words, the whole issue of whether the epitaph is solved or not is immaterial in Bito's eyes. You're right. Whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, this child stands nothing to gain at all. Doesn't matter whether it's solved or not. In other words, could we say the epitaph's riddle itself is immaterial to Bito? You're right. The epitaph's riddle doesn't have any meaning for this child. So even if you take it to an extreme and call the epitaph's riddle immaterial, it may not be possible to argue against your claim. Bito, why are you making us solve the epitaph's riddle? If we liken the witch you are to a pair of scales, the epitaph murders lie on one plate, and the riddles of the epitaph lies on the other plate. After all, she's saying she'll stop the epitaph murders if the epitaph is solved. In other words, the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle are worth the same to Bito. Like two sides on a balanced scale. That means that both the epitaph's riddle and massacring all the relatives are equally significant from Bito's point of view. But Vergilia responded with the red truth. Regardless of whether the epitaph is solved or not, Bito has nothing to gain. If she has nothing to gain, then this epitaph's riddle is meaningless and immaterial to Bito. In that case, how much are the epitaph murders, which lie on the other side of the scales, and are equal to the epitaph's riddle in value, worth to her? Think. Don't stop thinking. The epitaph murders and solving the riddle of the epitaph have equal worth. As long as the epitaph murders, which are Bito's goal each time, have the single way that they can be stopped, a way that she decided on herself, both are worth the same thing to her. X equals Y, and whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, Bito has nothing to gain. Y equals 0. So in this case, what is X? Wait a sec. That means the epitaph murders are also meaningless and immaterial. Every time she performs these bizarre serial murders, she's willing to spend an incredible amount of effort to politely send advance notice, and then kills us one by one in accordance with the epitaph never getting exposed. So all of this is meaningless to her. I spun the chessboard around and searched through Bito's moves over and over. This is always the first place I stumble. The significance of the epitaph murders. Why did she have to commit serial murders in a way that reproduced the witch's epitaph? If she wanted to kill the whole Ushimiya family for revenge, it'd be much simpler, safer, and more reliable if she just put poison into their dinner. Or else went around killing people one by one in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. However, on the first evening, Bito sent us a letter that sounded like an advance notice, and then carried out a 3-part serial murder with large gaps in between. The 6 people of the first twilight, the 2 people of the second twilight, and the 5 people of the fourth and later twilights. We aren't fools. Once the first murders occur, we barricade ourselves in somewhere to stave off any further murders. Furthermore, we quickly suspect a culprit among us and start analyzing each other's alibis. As the victims increase, the number of suspects decreases automatically, and Bito's chances of success in the serial murder drop closer and closer to 0. All the epitaph murders are like she's strangling her own neck, making it harder to succeed in the serial murder she's attempting. All for a useless embellishment, all just for show. She's raising the difficulty of completing her own objective. That does follow. She really is a strange child. Did you know? In mystery novels, they call things like this, these epitaph murders, plotline murders. I think you could split the possible motives for plotline murders like this into 3 groups. And what are those? Well, first of all, maybe following the epitaph gives rise to misconceptions about evidence and alibis which might benefit the culprit. Pretending to be dead and mixing yourself in with the victims would fit this pattern, as would committing murders that don't actually follow the epitaph, giving yourself an alibi by getting people to incorrectly guess the order of events. I see. So perhaps she only made it look as though she was killing them in a ceremonial fashion, following the epitaph, and when she was actually guiding their thinking in a manner that benefited her. I do find that intriguing. However, in our games, the dead are truly down for the count thanks to the red. While she might have confused people in the world of the game board, she can't confuse us up here like that. In other words, the most obvious possible goal for her isn't the real one. In that case, what are the 2 other possible reasons for carrying out plotline murders? Another one is coincidence. A crime just happens to resemble the epitaph, without anyone in particular trying to make it do so, and the witnesses mistakenly think it's a plotline murder. Humans try to find cause and effect in everything they see. If we think we know what something is, then that's how it looks like to us. I see. That's intriguing too. But would that really work? In this child's games, advance notice of the crime is always given before the murders of the first Twilight. Also, I believe you repeatedly found letters and circumstantial evidence that clearly show the culprit is carrying out epitaph murders. Yeah, that's right. It isn't coincidence. From the very beginning, Bito's been advancing with the goal of making this look like a series of epitaph murders. We weren't mistaken about that. These are clear plotline murders. So this motive, or lack of motive, doesn't work either. In that case, there's only one motive left, right? The last one is because they want to show someone something. More specifically, fear. By following the epitaph, she gives the others clear notice in advance that the murders will continue. The survivors are in constant fear of the murders, which they're certain will continue. In other words, this child performed these epitaph murders to make someone feel the fear of death. Or at least that explained things pretty well. The grotesque mutilation of corpses and the dark decorations were all a show to terrify us. To terrify whom? Huh? Well, like I said, us. After hearing that one line Virgilia spoke so casually, my thoughts clouded over once again. Is it really sufficient to use the vague word, us? There are many humans in the Ushimiya family. There's the head and the one who holds the rank of his successor, grandfather Uncle Kraus. There's the relatives who have some pull in the business world. On the other side, you have the young cousins who usually visit at most once a year, and the unfortunate servants who just happen to be on duty that day. Even if the culprit hates all of us, there should be clear differences in how much they hate some of us compared to others. So it should be possible to pick out people among us the culprit especially wanted to terrorize or have revenge against. If we liken this to a kid eating dessert, isn't the strawberry on top of the shortcake the part you should eat last? No one tells you you shouldn't eat it first, but our mentality encourages us to save it for later. In that case, the culprit would want to leave the person they hated most until the end. Yeah, like that line by my favorite character in the novel I like. Something about how the worst way to kill someone is to murder those close to them first. Make them as miserable as possible and only kill the person then. Oh my, that must have been quite a terrifying novel. How frightening. In that case, you could argue that the people who stay alive until the end are the ones Bito hates the most. However, every single time, the order people get killed changes around completely. If we try counting up the people who live until the last Twilight every single game, even though they do die in the end, I'm the only one. Let me first speak with the red. Adler-kun isn't the culprit. Adler-kun didn't kill anyone. This could be said of all games. Then that just makes it even more likely that it's me. It means the sole reason she had for bringing about the epitaph murders was to show them to me. Every time Bito brags that she'll choose whom to kill next with a roulette. However, I'm the only one she never kills. Though she does kill me in the end, she leaves me be until the very last moment. In all of these supposedly random games, there's only this one unchanging constant. She wants revenge against me. So is she performing the epitaph murders to make me feel fear? That's wrong. Her goal is not to make someone experience fear, and it isn't to have revenge on someone either. In that case, the epitaph murders really don't mean anything to her. The epitaph's riddle is meaningless, and the corresponding epitaph murders are also meaningless. X is equal to Y, which is equal to 0. But even so, she's clearly trying to show these meaningless things to me. What could she want from me that'd be worth the same to her as something meaningless? I don't get it. The more I think about it, the less I understand what she's thinking. Beatrice, the fickle witch who committed a meaningless, worthless string of serial murders. Even the epitaph's riddle, which that witch used as the trigger that could suspend the serial murders, is meaningless, immaterial. And yet she's thrusting this meaningless, immaterial thing in front of my face. What is it that you want from me? Or else, what is it that you're giving me? My idea that Bito has clearly been taking revenge on me has already been denied by Vergilia's red truth. Both X and Y, both the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle, hold no meaning for Beatrice. X is equal to Y, which is equal to 0. However, since she's thrusting those things in front of me, they must have some meaning. She showed us the scales representing, if you don't solve the epitaph, I'll carry out the epitaph murders. In other words, neither the epitaph murders nor the epitaph's riddle have any significance by themselves. However, it becomes meaningful when she puts both halves on the scales and puts them on display before us. No, before me. In other words, it should be like this. X is equal to 0, Y is equal to 0, X plus Y is greater than 0. A scale with meaningless, weightless things on both sides. However, it has weight itself and gives the rest meaning. It's almost like playing. Like kids playing rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is an extremely familiar method of randomly determining a winner and a loser. You sometimes wager some sort of reward in the outcome, but kids often do rock, paper, scissors just to play, without betting anything in particular. Unless you bet something, you have nothing to gain or lose, except happiness and frustration. In other words, the two sides of the scale, both winning and losing, are immaterial. However, the very act of seeing which way it will tip is the reason kids play rock, paper, scissors. After all, the kids are enjoying the communication that surrounds the game, and they aren't purely interested in the value of winning or losing. They aren't overly concerned about who wins and who loses. That would mean it doesn't matter to Bito whether the epitaph murders succeed or not. It almost feels like she's just enjoying the process. In the past, I cursed her, deciding she was heartless witch who kept murdering people for no reason. But right now, I can't imagine that's true. Thank you. In that case, I'll give you one more line of red. Bito never committed murder for the sake of pleasure. She didn't do it for pleasure, and she didn't do it to make anyone feel fear. Since she has nothing to gain, she doesn't care whether the epitaph murders succeed or fail. It's almost like a random game kids would play. That's not right. It does have meaning. It has meaning for her. And what is this meaning? I don't get it. Even though both sides of the scale are immaterial, the scale itself has some weight to it in her eyes. Of course it isn't meaningless. Some meaning definitely exists. In the previous game, she urged me to remember my sin of 6 years ago. Am I supposed to believe that was meaningless too? No, that definitely isn't the case. I clearly remember the serious gaze Bito had back then. Unfortunately, I didn't have a clue what she meant. When she saw that, she was horribly dejected. That's right. At the time, I'm sure she even went so far as to say the crime wouldn't have occurred if I hadn't come. It does have meaning. It means something to her. And it's connected to something she wants from me. I laughed softly and poked Bito lightly on the head, and then patted her head. Next time you want to send a love letter, I suggest you just write I love you. If you want to make it too roundabout and confusing, no one's gonna figure it out. I still don't have a clue what she's thinking. Even so, I won't stop thinking. I've only just started spinning the chessboard around. I definitely won't give up on this journey in search of your thoughts. We're getting a lot of dots being connected here. Again, there are clues that existed since the questions arc, but now they're laying it out for you to try to figure it out yourself. Badler did nothing but gaze blankly out the window. The fighting between the relatives went on without end. At first, the relatives had crowded around the study. However, no matter how much they knocked, the master of the study did not answer even once. Hey Vibram, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. How am I liking the story so far? Well, I've already played these novels before, so it's not a new experience for me. So I'm enjoying sharing it with you guys, the audience. It's also kind of fun to go through a second time now that, I mean, it's been like over 10 years since I read this, but it's kind of nice actually going back through it again, knowing the outcome and actually like, you know, I've always known about the foreshadowing and all the clues, but to actually go through it again with a fine-tooth comb and read it again is kind of nice, being like, oh yeah, I see what that part means, or like, oh yeah, that's the part that they talked about before, and like kind of seeing it all come together. So that's kind of nice. And of course, experiencing the music again is always a treat. But, you know, I really wish I could just wipe my memory and just go in through all this with like no memory of it and experience it for the first time again and have like a live reaction to it, but unfortunately that's just not in the cards. I'm glad you like hearing me read it. Ava and several others said they should open the door with the second key, the one Genji had. However, in a flash of brilliance, Natsui said that Kinzo had been in a particularly bad mood and had taken back the key he'd previously given Genji, which meant that he now had both keys himself. She claimed that this was the reason they couldn't open the door. After she promised to let them meet Kinzo tomorrow morning, no matter what, they finally returned to the dining hall. But of course, the argument continued on even there. Ava's group needed a lot of cash very soon, and they were trying to threaten Kraus somehow and make him pay up. Apparently, Badler solving the epitaph threatened Kraus's position as the successor, which gave the others a powerful tailwind. Yeah, Kiro reads you a bedtime story, but the bedtime story has a lot of murder, gaslighting, gatekeeping, and girl bossing. Yep, that's pretty much it. That's very accurate considering that, like, of all the Umineko characters, there are definitely more females than males, and usually the stories revolve more around the female characters, so that is very, very apt. On the other side, Kraus and Natsui based their argument on the claim that it had never been specified that ownership of the gold would be handed over to the person who solved the epitaph. It hadn't been hidden gold, but simply Kinzo's stockpile. And it was still Kinzo's property, which meant it would naturally be distributed after Kinzo's death with the rest of the inheritance. Once they made that claim, Ava's group once again started demanding to be allowed to see Kinzo. It had probably been obvious to them from the beginning. The sibling fight could only be settled by Kinzo. This was obviously a confrontation between Ava's group, which wanted cash fast, and Kraus, who was hiding his lack of funds, but still didn't need money right away. As he listened vaguely to this exchange, Badler marveled at how, despite their usual affluent airs, They were surprisingly deep in debt. Didn't you say the same thing a short while ago? Enough, let's take a break. We're all repeating the same things over and over again. According to the clock, it was almost 24 o'clock. It certainly was a perfect time for a break. The atmosphere relaxed just a bit. I agree. It'll be good for both sides to take a breather. Hey, why don't we start keeping a record when we start up again? I'm tired of fighting over what was or wasn't said. Seriously, we really can't do without a record of proceedings, not when Nissan can so easily deny something he said before the words stopped reverberating off the walls. A mere written record would be a pain, and it'd be an easy target for forgery. Good point. Aniki, wanna fire this up? A tape set, is it? I see. This way we can keep a record without bothering to write it down, and forgery will be impossible. It's fair for both sides. Make sure you don't mess anything up. Those are Father's precious music tapes. The dignified tape set had a sense of weight to it that matched the majestic dining hall perfectly. On pleasant Sunday mornings, it would sometimes be used to play famous tapes or records. However, right now, it was the most neutral and impartial conference room record keeper around. Rudolph fished randomly around the cassette rack, searching for a blank tape. And every time he found some tape with sophisticated music on it, he'd complain about how pompous it was. Pardon me. You called. We're taking a break. Sorry, but could you make us something to drink? And maybe some biscuits would be nice too. Certainly. I will see to it right away. Also, sorry, but do you have any cold medicine? I've been feeling a bit feverish. Then don't overstrain yourself. Get some sleep. If you really feel like it, why not get some sleep, Rosa? Of course, I wouldn't step out of such an important conference because of a simple cold. Really? Allow me to take a rest as well. Natsui, why don't we take a short rest too? Yes, dear. Sensing that he meant to have a strategy meeting, Natsui stood up. Even if it hadn't been the case, she was so desperate to get out of that room, even for a moment, that she'd have taken any excuse. Kraus and Natsui left the dining hall, and the tension in the room truly relaxed. You've been doing great, Badler-kun. I imagine you feel just horrible. Think of this as part of growing up and just accept it. So how long am I gonna sit around here doing nothing? Who knows? After all, you're like our own portable shrine. Sleepy? About as much as your average school class. I'm pretty sure Father isn't gonna show up tonight anyway. When Kraus, Nissan, and the rest come back, I'll propose that we might as well let you go. I'll be counting on you. A light knock and the faint sound of china clinking together could be heard. Excuse us. We brought tea. Shannon and Cannon had come by with a serving cart. The pleasant smell of black tea had the effect of relieving a bit of the tension. Hey, did you hear? Hear about what? We haven't heard anything. Stop it, Rudolph. There's no reason to tell them. We are furniture, so we have no interest in matters concerning the family conference. I see. That's a wise answer. You have midnight shift? That must be rough. That is our job. We would be happy to receive your orders. Makes sense to me. At least that'd be better than sitting around awake doing nothing. When I was still down in the bottom rungs, I once worked as a warehouse keeper. Even if you're just staying awake, it's pretty tough. Right after the war, you had robbers all over the place. Plus, you couldn't rely on the police back then, so it was a pretty dangerous time. Hideyoshi was particularly proud of how he started with nothing and built up assets by illegally diverting goods from the American army. Once the subject came up, Hideyoshi tended to get pretty talkative. The relatives who knew this were greatly relieved to see that a perfect sacrifice had come up. If you got found out, you were in for the big time. Those Americandy people are scary. Their strength's in another league because of all the beef they eat. If you got caught, it'd end with them shooting you or death by hanging. Get it? Death by hanging. Oh yeah, and then I figured it out. It's all about the meat. Japanese people gotta eat more meat. And that's when I got the revelation that I need to start up a business to win over people's stomachs. I see. That must have been quite a difficult task. Stop it, dear. No matter how much you tell people born after the war, they'll never understand how we suffered back then. Oops, looks like my bad habits jumped out again. Sorry. Ah, haha. You two should have some tea as well. Every now and then it might be helpful for you to use your own tongues to learn more about the tea you're always brewing. No, we'll be fine. There's no need to be concerned for our sakes. Hang out with us for a bit. Being surrounded by adults makes me feel like I'm gonna suffocate. Hear that? That's an order from Badler-sama, the successor. Sit over there and have some tea with us. Then you can talk about recent events, your hobbies, TV shows you're watching, and whatever it is that's popular with kids these days. There's a lot we could learn. That's a brilliant idea. Come on, you two, sit down too. Why don't you become sacrifices for us now that we crave something to talk about? That's right! I thought it'd be nice to talk to some young kids, but that'll be pretty hard when I'm too old, even to go to a cabaret club. How long are you planning on standing around there? Rudolph told you to sit. Sit down. I give you permission as well. After getting Ava's permission, Shannon and Cannon looked at each other and finally obeyed nervously. For a while, the two were pounded by questions and became the relatives' playthings. Then, a reserved knocking sound could be heard. All the servants tended to knock in a similar manner, so no one found it strange. However, Shannon and Cannon turned around with surprised looks on their faces. The servants here today included the two of them, Genji, Kumasawa, and Goda. Goda had the midnight shift at the guest house. Kumasawa had gone to bed in a spare room in the guest house. The two of them were right here, so Genji was the only person left. But they knew very well that Genji wouldn't knock like that. Who is it? It's not locked, just come in. Rudolph didn't recognize the knock either. When he asked who is it, it became apparent that no one knew whose knock it was. After that, the same knock repeated just once more. Could it be that someone had their hands full and was asking that the door be opened for them? As a slightly odd feeling began to encompass the room, the sound of the large clock in the hall could be heard. It was a sign that October 4th had ended, and October 5th had begun. Let's step back in time a bit. At this time, Kraus and Natsui were ways off in a deserted corridor on the second floor. So, we no longer have any other options. Yes. The same move probably won't last us all day tomorrow. If we hesitate any longer, there's a chance Ava-san and the others will call the police, claiming that we have father locked up somewhere. This is as far as we can go. Badler-kun finding the gold was completely unexpected. If that hadn't happened, I thought of a plan which might have managed to get us through this somehow. Huh. This always happens when I bet on something. Something unexpected always happens, and something that should have been an absolute certainty goes wrong. Let's arrange for father's room to be empty starting tomorrow morning. Let's plan it out with Genji, and have him say he saw father heading out into the forest early in the morning. I doubt Ava and the others will simply accept such a disappearance. I'm fully aware of that. However, we have no other options. If we do such a thing, Ava and the others would doubtless make a fuss that our actions were suspicious. They aren't worried about appearances as long as they can squeeze some money out of us. It might end up in some odd magazine and cause serious damage to the confidence placed in me. Damage is something we can live with, right? If by any chance father's secret is discovered, we'll face a lot worse than mere damage. There's nothing wrong with persisting until the last possible second tomorrow. If we're able to make it through safely, we won't have to lose anything. There's no need to get impatient and use that trump card. You want to wait until after they start clamoring about how we've locked father up, and then say he's gone missing? That way would invite much more suspicion. Ugh. Let's just put father to rest now. To go any further would be impossible. Calm yourself. Being exposed to Ava and the other's venom too much has made you lose your composure, that's all. Only 2 keys exist that can let anyone into that study. And you have both of them right here. That means no one can go inside. That door is a very special make. No matter what kind of tools they bring out of the storage room, it won't even budge. It isn't a physical problem like that. Then please don't be hasty and calm down. In any event, you can pretend to have gotten a fever and stay in bed. In the meantime, I'll overcome all of this for you. I can't leave everything to you. I'll fight until the end too. When Natsui could no longer hold back the tears brought on by her fierce emotions, Kraus held her gently. Just how long had it been since the last time she'd felt the warmth of her husband's compassion? Your headache must be awful, yes. It's always that way when you wrinkle your forehead like that. Dear. She had come to think that her husband could never guess the way she felt. But at times like this... Let's wait for the very last moment before using our disappearance trump card. It's like a last resort treasured sword. It's best when it remains in its sheath. The important thing is that you're ready to pull it out any time, right? I understand that. Yeah, it's kind of nice whenever we see like these moments of Kraus actually being nice to Natsui, because I feel so bad for Natsui. She goes through so much. Would you let me handle that trump card? Of course, at the final moment I would take all the responsibility. I won't get you and Jessica involved. What do you mean by that? When the Ushimiya family is destroyed, it is enough that I alone am crushed in the rubble. When the typhoon passes, let's make sure we're ready to file for divorce. I will sign the papers and let you hold on to them. I've secretly left some of my assets in your name. If you add on some compensation money, that should be enough for you and Jessica to live on without any hindrances. No! Ushimiya Natsui is the name that should be engraved on my tombstone. Please, let me be with you until the last moment. Even if it turns out that you're the last head of the Ushimiya family. Please, let Natsui be the name of the wife of the final head. Your wife. Kraus's existence was founded solely upon the trust and power of his assets as a financial fixer. If either of those weakened, nothing would remain. If they used the trump card of Kinzo's disappearance, they would lose one of the 2 essential supports. It was like offering your right arm in exchange for your neck being cut. It was probably better than losing your head, but you still might die from the blood loss. And even on the off chance you did survive, you'd have to bear a heavy wound that wouldn't heal for the rest of your life. Kraus was prepared even for death. Understanding this, Natsui buried her face in Kraus's chest and cried. No, the good music's fading away. We hardly knew her. My apologies for interrupting. The sudden appearance of Genji's voice made Natsui jump back and hurriedly wipe the tears from her eyes. Kraus stood in front of Natsui, shielding her. Ah, Genji-san. Please don't sneak up on us. You have some business. Yes. My apologies, but I have something to report to Madam. To me? Dear? I don't mind. Kraus left Natsui's side, went to a window a short ways off, and gazed at the windy and rainy rose garden. Natsui went with Genji to a place a short distance away. What is it? Well, the truth is another phone call has come for you, madam. At that moment, a sudden, eerie sound surprised her. It was a large clock in the hall announcing 24 o'clock. You don't mean... that man again? Yes. What is to be done? Did he say what business he had with me? I can give you no answer on that matter. He kept insisting that he wanted to speak to you directly. Again, a phone call from the man who claimed to be taking revenge for something that happened 19 years ago. 19 years ago. That was just 1 year before Jessica and Badler were born. In Natsui's eyes, the gap between 19 years ago and 18 years ago was immense. For a long time, she had been unable to fulfill her role of creating a successor for the Ushimiya family and had been treated very coldly. But then she finally gave birth to Jessica, and became able to call herself the Ushimiya successor's wife with her head held high. So in her eyes, Ushimiya Natsui began 18 years ago. That's why everything before that, including the events of 19 years ago, contained nothing but hateful memories. And something from the last year of that hateful period is whispering vengeful words from the other side of the phone. I can still hear the roar of the sea. What is to be done? Transfer it to my room. Don't let my husband know. As you wish. From the very beginning, Genji had guessed that she wouldn't want Kraus hearing about this phone call. That's why he had told Natsui covertly. Natsui ordered that he transfer the call, told Kraus that she would turn in for the night, and left at a quick pace. She returned to her room and locked the door. There was nothing peculiar about that. In the Ushimiya family, hallways are like public roads. There's no special meaning in locking the door when you enter your own room. This is what she told herself. Then, as though it had been waiting for her, the telephone rang. Genji had probably transferred the call. She took a deep breath, readied herself, and picked up the receiver. Hello. Again, it started with silence. She realized that the person on the other end was trying to irritate her and make her feel uncomfortable, and she got angry. Why are you silent? I'm hanging up. Do not hang up, mother. I want to hear your voice a little longer. Again, that unpleasant voice. Are you trying to mock me? Tell me what you want. I want to play with you, mother. What? What are you talking about? I have no desire to play with you. You are tired from the family conference, right? Is that chronic headache of yours getting to be a pain? That's none of your business. Just the fact that he knew her headache was troubling her made a shiver run up her spine. You get headaches because your head is all stiff. If you go straight to bed like that, you cannot expect to have good dreams. Haven't I told you that's none of your business? I'm hanging up. Natsui forcefully yelled that she was hanging up, but in actuality she couldn't. After all, being at the receiving end of a phone call was much better than the alternative. If she hung up violently, this person might then call someone else. Let us play a game to help you relax. I will not take up much of your time. I have no intention of playing with you. Your name is Natsui, mother. It has the kanji for a season in it. Pretty nice name. However, just because your name is Natsui does not necessarily mean you like summer. Which season do you really like, mother? You think I'll tell you? If you do not, I will hang up. Is that alright? Sorry, that was him. If you do not, I will hang up. Is that alright? Ugh. It was clearly a threat. It meant that if she forced him to hang up the phone, anything might happen. Humiliated, she was forced to give in to a threat made by a man whose name she didn't even know. She gave him the answer he wanted. It's autumn. Why? Because it's an easy season to pass the time in. There's no other reason in particular. Are you satisfied now? Yes, I am satisfied. So, it looks like your favorite season really is the same as mine. I like autumn too. Liar. You just made that up. Surely this man would have done the same thing no matter which season I said I liked. What is he after? What's so fun about making me uncomfortable like this? It's not nice to call someone a liar. I'm not making it up. I already knew you liked autumn, mother. There is even proof. Proof? Yeah. Is there a clock in your room, Mother? Clock? Yes, there is, but what's your point? In Natsue's room, there was a beautiful antique clock with an intricate design. Kraus had bought it for her as a birthday present long ago. It's 7 o'clock, or it's 7 right now. Well, 7 past midnight right now. It's 7 past midnight right now. I'm tired, so please get this farce over with quickly. Try lifting the clock up. Why? You really do not know when to shut up. Stop resisting every single time I say something. Just shut up and do what I say. The tone of the man's voice suddenly went low, turning into a threat. It made his displeasure clear. At first, this man seemed to have a calm way of speaking, but on inside it wasn't the case at all. If she enraged this man even a little more, he would surely show his true nature right away. Are you really that eager to make me hang up? Things are best when I talk on the phone with you. I could tell your husband and daughter about what happened 19 years ago anytime I want to. I don't know what you're talking about, but please don't get my husband and daughter involved. I'm listening to everything you say. Then just do what you're told. Once again, the man threatened her in a low voice, as though warning her not to interrupt again. My head was filled with the pain from my headache, the sound of my beating heart, and the roar of the sea. I can't disobey him anymore. As the man had ordered, I lifted up the antique clock. Huh? There lay what appeared to be a single playing card. Is this the warranty for the clock? Thinking this, she took it and turned it over. Are you wide awake now? What? Why? Why is this here? Well, it would please me if your headache's gone down a bit. Tell me you are happy, Mother. How did you? Why? How? I want to hear you say you are happy, murderer. How dare you act like a normal, neat freak mother? You make me want to vomit. Do you want that to land on your husband and daughter as well? You don't, right? You want me to keep quiet, don't you? Okay, I'll keep quiet. Come on. Aren't you happy? Aren't you? I'm happy! So please stop. Don't bring my husband and daughter into this. What is it that you want? Money? How much? I do not want money. My wounds cannot be healed with any amount of money. But there is a medicine. That is right. It is like a kind of ointment. Thick, syrupy, and dribbling. And that is my hatred. My resentment towards you. Slathering myself with that is the only way to hold back the pain. Natsu had never had anything so hateful said to her in her entire life, so she suspected many times that she must have been having some sort of bad dream. However, this definitely wasn't a dream. You couldn't possibly be on this island right now, are you? I am. Did I not promise you? I said I would be at the family conference. That's impossible! There's no way you could have come during this typhoon. That would be no problem if I came before the typhoon reached here. And I'm pretty sure this guest called Erica or whatever arrived even during the typhoon. Her blood froze. Furuto Erica had supposedly been brought here by coincidence. If he knew that name, he would have to be very close by. Where are you? I will not appear in front of anyone until you introduce me. Do not worry. Oh, yes, it is useless to try and search for me. Your mansion is huge, and you have no shortage of phones I could be calling from. Besides, I am sure you do not want to meet me, right? Or else, do you want to expose me and introduce me to everyone? Introduce me to Jessica too. Tell me I am her older brother by 1 year. Stop it. Stay away from Jessica. I guess I have scared you a bit too much. That is all from me for tonight. But do not forget, you cannot disobey me. Understand, mother? Yes. I'm going to hang up for the night, but I have an order that must be followed until tomorrow morning. What is it? You may no longer leave that room tonight, and you may not make a phone call to anywhere. If a phone call comes for you, you are not allowed to take it. You will turn the lights off right now, get in bed, and sleep. Then you will wake up at your ordinary time. It is sure nice to live a healthy life. I really am such a good son, working so hard for the sake of my mother's body. I understand. I'll go to sleep right now. I won't leave my room and I won't pick up the phone. So don't involve my husband and daughter. As long as you follow my orders, I will keep your secret, mother. Do not disobey me. I am already very close by to you. I can easily tell whether you have turned your lights off, or whether you are on the phone. If I wish to, I could even kiss your sleeping face. I'll keep it! I'll keep my promise! So stop it! Just stop it! Stop it! As she screamed, Natsui took the card she had found under the clock and crushed it up into a little ball. It had a pattern on it like a tarot card, and also the kanji for autumn. Things are getting interesting! Let's step back in time once again. Right now, it is the exact moment that the large clock in the hall announced 24 o'clock. Wondering who the person who knocked twice was, the relatives in the dining hall stared at the door. Rudolph told them to come in, but there was no answer. Until the end of that long tone marking the arrival of 24 o'clock, which had come from the large clock in the hall, shortly after the knock. They were unable to move in the slightest. Maybe their hands are full, and they can't open it. Maybe, but it's a bit creepy that they won't say their name. Should I open it? Do so. Cannon nodded back, then slowly opened the door. What's that? It's one of Father's envelopes. Right behind the open door, on the floor of the hallway, lay the envelope. There's no one in the hallway. Perhaps they placed us here and left. The adults flew out of the corridor as well, but they could find no trace of anyone who might have knocked on the door. Just about an hour ago, Shannon and Cannon had come in to serve tea. At that time, everyone had seen that nothing lay in that spot. Someone came, knocked, left an envelope with a mark of the one-winged eagle on it, and left. Hey Jason, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for dropping by. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day. Could it have been the master? It's not unthinkable. Father's pretty much the only person in the mansion who would refuse to answer when asked who he was. That's not possible. If that were the case, why wouldn't Father come in here openly? That's right. Father would probably just barge in here without knocking. The doors and windows of this mansion are locked now, right? In that case, the only people who could have conceivably left the letter here are Kraus-san, Natsui-san, and Genji-san. By this point, the mansion had been completely locked up. Therefore, the cousins in the guest house, Nanjo, Goda, Kumasawa, and Erika, could not have come here. Furthermore, since Kraus, Natsui, and Genji were the only three who weren't in this room, one of those three had to be the one who had sent the letter down in the corridor. So it was very likely that Kraus and the others had placed the letter there to make it seem like a message from Kinzo. I see. He'll have something written on it that's supposedly in Father's name, saying that he won't accept Badler as his successor, or something of the sort. Ridiculous. I can't believe you tried to pull such a childish trick, Nissan. Well, it's not like I give a damn about being the successor. Give it up. That's just your fate. Anyway, why don't we read what's inside? Rudolph set the letter on the dining hall table and let everyone see the front and back to show there were no tricks or hidden mechanisms. Almost like a magician does before performing his act. Can we be sure this envelope is one of Father's? Yeah, no doubt about it. Father liked to use this kind of envelope for handwritten letters. What do you think, Shannon-chan? Yes. To my eyes as well, it looks like the type of envelope that the master uses. That doesn't mean Father was the one who wrote it. It would be pitifully easy for Nissan to snatch one of these from a drawer in Father's study. Even Kraus-sama would not be able to enter the study easily. It might be hard for him to steal an envelope. Let's try opening it. We can worry about all that later. Feels like there's something in it. I wonder what. Rudolph opened the envelope a bit roughly. Then a folded letter and a glittering object fell out. It was a ring. Huh? Wait a second. Isn't that the ring? Ava noticed it immediately and grabbed at it. This is Father's ring, isn't it? It's the head's ring. What in the... Seriously? Are you sure it's Father's? Could it be a replica? No, this is the real thing. I've always dreamed of wearing this ring on my finger someday. Even though Father wore this on his ring, I know more about it than anyone else. This is Father's ring, no doubt about it. Why is it here? Does that mean it really was Father who wrote this letter? Huh. The sender isn't Father. It's much more interesting than that. Then who is the letter from? The Ushimiya family alchemist. It's from the Golden Witch Beatrice-sama. Rudolph showed everyone the part of the letter where that was written. It really did say that. It's from Beatrice. What's it say? I'll read it. Congratulations. I acknowledge that Badler-sama spectacularly solved the epitaph's riddle and reached the Golden Land. All of the gold belongs to Badler-sama. Furthermore, Badler-sama is the new head of the Ushimiya family. As proof, I send the head's ring, which Kinzo-sama left in my charge. Badler-sama, I beg that you take the ring, become the new master of the gold, and guide the Ushimiya family. I sincerely pray that you flourish as the new head. Ha! Ha ha ha! What the hell? I see, Dad just won't come out of his study, so Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest, has acknowledged Badler directly. Ha 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 ha! Badler-kun, you take that ring. This is a special ring to be worn by the family head. I don't know who this Beatrice is, but she's watched the whole thing and sent you this ring after acknowledging you as the true successor. Is that okay? It's such an important ring. Yeah, it's fine. You should wear it proudly on your finger. Got it? Even Aniki and Natsui-nesan tell you to take it off. You'd better not do it. All the relatives, with creepy smiles on their faces, urged Badler to put the ring on his finger. It looked like things would get pretty nasty if he refused, so Badler reluctantly decided to put it on the middle finger of his left hand. The ring was heavy and stiff. At that moment, Kraus returned. Genji came back shortly as well behind him. My apologies. It seems my wife is not at her best, so she's gone to bed early. Did something happen? You all seem incredibly flustered. Badler-sama, isn't that... Immediately Genji keenly spotted that which Badler had just put on his finger. Your eyesight's pretty good, Genji-san. Looks like you know whose ring this is. What? What are you talking about? Judging by Kraus's dubious expression, it seemed unlikely that he was the one who placed the letter there. Furthermore, that expression quickly changed into one of shock. That's right, it's the Ushimiya family head's ring. The family conference took up this new topic, and the storm came once again. Let's save our game. So, I don't think anything's changed on the system menu. It's still the same as it was at the end of the previous stream, because no one's died. Erica's here still. This side hasn't changed either. So, we kind of got past a lot of the exposition. I know, like, the previous stream was a lot more exposition. This one was still, like, with the solving the riddle and stuff, they still never told us the exact answer to the riddle, but they gave us a lot more direction on where it went. And now we're kind of getting into what I would say the interesting part of this episode. You know, Balor's found the gold, along with Erica, of course. He has the ring left behind by the mysterious Beatrice. Natsu's still being threatened by the man on the phone. Balor also connected the dots that he's always one left alive at the end of all the games, which I think is fascinating because, you know, as the viewer, you just kind of assume, well, he's the main character, right? That's why he survives. But now we know it's like an intentional thing on Beatrice's part, which is kind of interesting. So things are in full swing here with the family conference, and the murders haven't started up yet, but it seems like everyone's still arguing over this gold, so who knows what's going to happen next? Plus, we still don't know about that mysterious man on the phone, so that's also a very interesting point to put up. Meanwhile, Natsui and Kraus are still struggling because they're trying to hide Kinzo's existence, or non-existence, I guess. But everyone's trying to force them into seeing him because of this whole successor dealio coming up. So there's a lot of moving parts in play here, and I think it'll be really interesting seeing how it all kind of comes together. Unfortunately, like, I feel like this is a good place to stop for today's stream. I kind of looked ahead at the rest of this episode and timed out how long it takes other people to read the different parts, or let the actual Japanese dub go through it. So I think this is a good place if I want to divide up the stream naturally in a place that will be set for the next stream, and in order to develop the next couple streams ahead and make sure everything's wrapped up nice and evenly. I think we'll finish this episode 5, in about 5 streams total, so this is the second of the 5 streams. But of course, episode 5 is not the end, episode 8 is the end, so there's still a lot of stuff to go on. But things take a drastic turn after this one, I will tell you that. I mean, I'm sure you could have figured that out. And thank you for the stretch, Kira, and thank you so much for sticking around and listening to me read. I really appreciate it. Thank you anyone else who's sitting there listening. I really appreciate you guys stopping by, and thank you for all the bits as well today. I really appreciate it. Let's have a look at Twitch and see who is still streaming. Tomorrow, I will be streaming, but I haven't yet decided what game I will play, so that will probably come into play when I post my schedule tomorrow. And then on Monday, we're doing a special collab with Kieran, who is right here in the stream. We're going to be reading Avian Attorney, which is a short little Ace Attorney style-like game that involves birds, so I'm very excited about that. Hey, Cosita, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. You just kind of caught us here at the tail end. I hope you had a good stream, too, and happy birthday. Cosita, it's his happy birthday, and it's also his anniversary, and he was streaming earlier. I hope you had a good one. Look like you're having a lot of fun. Please go make sure to go follow Cosita and say hi to him as well. He's a really cool guy, and he plays a lot of fun games. He's got a great energy about him, and he's just fantastic. So please give him well wishes. It looks like Lace is streaming. Hopefully we don't raid into him as he's wrapping up. Even if that does happen, I guess it's just revenge for him doing it to us. So let's raid him. It was only good because Kira was there. I only popped in for like a couple hours, really. But I'm glad that you had a good time, Casita. Okay, let's stick around for a raid for Lace, and otherwise I'll see you guys tomorrow for some other game, which I have yet to decide. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great weekend. Have a great Easter weekend. Yes, I keep forgetting it's Easter weekend. Although if you're watching this on YouTube, it's not Easter anymore, but I hope you have a good day regardless. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.